The standard stuff, greetings and welcome to this April 2026, it says right, meeting of the Transportation Planning Committee of Manhattan Community Board 4. MCB4 has a hybrid policy that can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability and or extraordinary circumstance. Excused members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. Members who are joining via Zoom must leave their cameras on. And this meeting is being streamed live on our YouTube channel, and a transcript is being recorded. And I'm just curious how many participants we have. Oh, I did not need to do that. All right. So
hold on, David, can you turn on your camera?
Yeah, David, if you're around, please turn on your camera. I see Ellen is now joining us virtually. Also, thank you, Ellen. Hi, Ellen. All right, so as everyone will see, it is a relatively short agenda, which is funny only because when Christine and I were reviewing this agenda only like 1 week ago, it had like almost 15 or 16 items on it. So we've cut that down substantially through this both good luck things that moved on around, some things that pushed to May. And now we have this tiny little agenda, which is what it is. And yes, this was the first agenda item also just got pushed to May. So really, we are now we have really 5 items, 4 and only like 4 discussion items. So I'll just get right into it. I think the number 2 item agenda, which is really our number 1 item agenda this evening, is about the Mido's Halal food truck. I think just to refresh everyone, and I do encourage everyone to go into the Dropbox and refresh your memory of our discussion on the food truck from a couple months ago. We wrote a letter that was really covered everything we had heard from the community members who presented to us. We also attached several pictures and a presentation to that letter. I really think we went into really great detail what the issue was, and our letter was responded to, from our point of view, successfully in the sense of the food truck was forced to move. But we understand that the owner, Mr. Essa, is obviously concerned about that. It's his business, it's his livelihood. And so he wanted an opportunity to speak to us in the hopes of maybe we could come and figure out some sort of go forward solution here, because obviously we want to make things work, not just solving things for one side, sometimes create more problems the other side. So it's always best to figure out solution.
To be clear, just to set the table, the truck is currently there. There's a new truck there.
There's a new truck there?
Yeah, he can perhaps speak to that.
What's happening is apparently there is a new truck, but they are not selling from the truck, they are selling from the 2 cars. And that's it, that's what the neighbors told me.
Oh, all right, well,
Can you
okay. Well, we'll hopefully, great, hopefully, Mr. Essa will be able to speak to that. And then I assume we have community members on as well, neighbors who will update us from their own perspective. And then we can have a discussion here of what we should do about this. So with that, Mr. Essa, I will turn it over to you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, and we're happy to hear from you.
You're on mute right now.
Yes.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Calvin. I am the Arabic speaking organizer with the Street Vendor Project. So I'm just here with Salah and Mu'min from the Mido's Halal Food. I'll be helping translate what they're saying into English so that they can speak a bit more comfortably in Arabic. I want to thank the community board for giving us, sorry, we're struggling to all get in the same camera, but you can hear, hopefully. I want to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to speak with the board. We understand there are some concerns with some of the impacts on the residents in the nearby building. But I think I know from the beginning of working with Salah and Mu'min, I understand that what they want to do is find a way to make sure everyone's concerns are addressed so that they can keep serving the community members who rely on them for food in the area, and that they can keep running their business in a way that works for the neighborhood. And I'll just give a quick update on what's happened since the letter was submitted. And then I'll let Salah and Mu'min speak a little bit more, and we'll translate so that everyone can understand. So after the letter was submitted, the NYPD came and confiscated the truck. The NYPD confiscated the truck and wrote 3 criminal tickets for vending violations. This was on, I believe, March 17th or March 16th. On March 9th, a new law came into effect that prevents the NYPD from writing criminal tickets for vending violations. So the NYPD did not follow the proper protocol. They wrote criminal tickets, they confiscated the truck, they gave us the incorrect paperwork that the truck had been confiscated for civil forfeiture. That was not true. We spent almost 2 weeks with 2 different lawyers trying to figure out where the truck was being held and under what circumstances. We finally were able to get the truck back only by contacting the NYPD legal, the central lawyers of the NYPD. And I just want to give that as an example. I understand that you guys did what is, the job of the community board, which is to listen to residents and reach out to the authorities. But I just wanted to give that as an example of some of the extreme consequences that can happen when police get involved, and hope that in the future there can be a dialogue before that happens, because I can go into more detail about the way the police mishandled the case, but it was mishandled to such an extent that we needed multiple lawyers and multiple weeks to get the truck back, which should not be the case when the police confiscate any vendor's items. So now I'm gonna let مؤمن speak a little bit, and لو عايز تتكلم بالعربي أنا هترجم، أو لو عايز تتكلم بالإنجليزي زي ما تحب.
انا عايز اعرف هم عايزين ايه واحنا
نحل المشكلة.
Okay. So they just said, really they're here to understand the issues. Obviously, we've read the letter together. They want to understand the issues so that they can solve them, and make sure that they're not impacting neighbors in a negative way.
Okay.
And Mu'min is just sharing also, he's like, they don't want to have a personal issue. They're not taking this personally. They understand. They just want to find a way to run the business in a respectful way.
So we got an explanation of our letter. I think I can. You want me to?
No, go ahead, please.
So the first concern we have heard is that the truck is there like 24 hours a day. And it seems that this is not right, because the legislation says that every night you have to go back to a commissary, and the parking says you're supposed to be there only 3 hours. So just on those 2 items, which were really the major focus of the concern and the complaints, we would like to understand why you are operating differently than that, which is, we understand this is the law. Maybe we don't understand it, but we understand that.
فهمت السؤال هو عن الفكرة انه المفروض ترجعوا للجراج كل يوم.
بنروح الجراج بقول لك بعد كده لو عايزين اخد تيك فيديوز اوف ذا وتركب جوه الكمساري
انتوا بترجعوا الكومساري الساعة كام؟
نرجع الساعة 4.
الساعة 4 الفجر.
اوكي.
لو عايزين فيديوز فروم ذا كومساري ونديكريني
واحنا في الجراج ومعانا ورق كل حاجات.
Okay. So they're saying that they do bring it back to the garage around 4 a.m. Like after all of the late night sales, and they're happy to provide documentation of their contract at the commissary, as well as photos or videos of being cleaned in the commissary. And I'll just add from my own I guess you could call it expertise. working at the street vendor project, you're correct that the law requires cleaning at the commissary once a day, but there are no legal, it is not about being back at night. It is about having the cart cleaned regularly rather than like a specific time limit.
No, yeah, got it. And what about the 3 hours limit on the parking there?
وبالنسبة لأنه الركنة هناك 3 ساعات بالمتر.
لا بس يعني اقول لها ماشي بس الست كلها كده وهم البوليس فاهم اندرستاند يعني
كلنا
ممكن
بنشتغل
الف
كده،
لفه وارجع تاني.
ممكن نلف
والبوليس برضو قال له
البوليس لما جه
ادفع
قال لي
الميتر، ادفع الميتر بتاعك
خلاص.
وكل أمريكا بتشتغل كده يعني.
Yeah. And so they're saying in terms of the 3-hour parking issue, they have I mean, and I understand this this isn't exactly the letter of the law, but you know, this is very common in New York City, not just among food vendors, right? There's mountains of illegal parking all around the city, and I understand that's not the answer you want, but that is part of the context in which they're working. The other piece of context they're providing is that they have spoken with the police, and the police have said previously, and this is what the police are saying. I don't know if this is their interpretation of the law or the correct interpretation of the law, but the police have told them as long as they pay the meter, it's okay. That has been communicated to them by police officers from the Midtown North Precinct.
So the bottom line, and I understand those answers. The bottom line though is that the neighbors are really frustrated because there is not a lot of loading area in the district. I mean, they are right in front of a very large or two very large residential buildings. And which need deliveries, which need, you know, contractors to park, etc. And meanwhile, the truck is there all the time. So this seems to be an unbalanced use of the space. And so the question is, what could you do about that? Could you operate from a different place, maybe half of the time? You know, that's the bottom line. The bottom line is like, this is a limited space and everybody wants that space.
هي بتقول يعني الركنة على الشارع ده يعني محدودة، والناس السكان في العمارة شايفين يعني يكون صعب بالنسبة لهم انه الدليفري يركن عشان يطلع يسيب باكج كده. فهي عايزة تعرف يعني لو يمكن مثلا انتوا تشتغلوا في مكان تاني شوية وقت كده. يعني هل في تجربتكم يعني الركنة كلها يعني بيزي ولا؟
لا مش بيزي، الركنة بيبقى فاضية أول ده طيب، ممكن آخد كلها. هو ساعات بتبقى فاضية على طول، معايا صور من الشارع بيبقى فاضي في الوقت كله. يعني فهمتني؟
لا هم كانوا عاملين عربية صغيرة.
هم كان عندهم عربية صغيرة، يعني اشرح لها. وبقالنا 3 سنين واقفين ومحدش يعني محدش كان بيتكلم معانا.
مش عايز برضه
وكان عندهم عربية صغيرة واقفة يعني على الصيد واقفة، هم قالوا يشيلوها وينضفوا أحسن، تكون الشكل أحسن وتقدر تسيرفي.
ماشي.
بقول لهم إن هو مثلا كانوا بيعملوا عشان كان المشكلة بتاعتهم الأساسية علشان السموك وعلشان اللايت والنويز، وإحنا حلينا كل ده، وإحنا بقالنا زمان شغالين هناك.
يعني احنا اتكلمنا مع الرئيس بتاعت الكوميونتي بورد، هي قالت لنا كده حلوا المشاكل
واحنا مش عايزين مشاكل، بس على الركنة الشارع بيكون فاضي.
Okay, ماشي. So they shared, you know, first of all, in their experience of selling there, it's very rare, like they don't see all the spots all taken. Like oftentimes those spots on the road are empty. And I will say I visited the spot with them. I think I've been there twice. Once was at night, the other was maybe late afternoon, and I personally also saw many available spots. But they also wanted to talk, they were sharing that, you know, when they read the letter, their understanding was that a lot of the issues had to do more with like the noise or the lights or the smoke, and those are all issues that they're happy to address and have addressed already. And they also shared that, you know, they've been in that spot for many years, because there was so much demand. They switched around 3 years ago from a cart to a truck. And in the 3 years of switching to the truck, which they explained, you know, that's a business decision. Oftentimes it's easier to run out of a truck. It sort of makes a nicer location for the customers. People are more attracted to a truck than a cart. Since they made that change, it wasn't until just about a month ago that there was any indication that there were issues. And it escalated so quickly, suddenly to the truck being confiscated. So that was what they shared.
I think what we should do, we appreciate that, hearing from that. That obviously does differ significantly with what we heard from the residents in our previous meeting, who's, you know, made it clear to us that they have tried for years to work with Mr. Essa about their concerns, and felt that they were being not listened to, or their concerns were being ignored, and that's how they ended up coming to us. I think so. I understand that you may be here to propose. I think what we should hear is your proposals. It sounds like you come with proposals for how you can maybe limit the noise, the smoke, and the lights. We're still going to have concerns about the letter of the law, which is the 3-hour parking. And you know, there's a purpose to the law, right? It is to prevent things just like this, where one, it's to allow commercial vehicles to load and unload, but also because it is right next to these residential buildings, and so there, you know, there's a reason you don't want to have a giant truck parked outside 24/7. But what I think it makes sense to do is just to hear from you a little bit more about some of what you plan on doing to mitigate these issues. And then we will hear from any of the residents who are online to hear if anything that they've heard alleviates any of their concerns. And then we can move from there. But let me give you one more opportunity just to share based on what you've heard.
Yes, you have a quick questions for them?
Hold on one sec, David. For the letter that we've written, how you would respond, how you would move forward to mitigate the concerns that you've heard about noise and smoke and lights. And I'll leave you.
Thank you. هو عايز يسمع ايه الاقتراحات بتاعتكم عشان تحل مشاكل يعني الضوء والدخان والدوشة.
انا حلها.
احنا دلوقتي ما عدناش بنعمل دخان. النور قفلنا، النور اللي هو اللي كان بيعمل ضوء كبير قفلناه كله، ما بيشتغلش تماما. الدوشة الجنريتور عملنا له سيستم اللي هو ده
يعني والبوليس حتى جالنا وقال حتى الجنريتور الصوت مش عالي والنور قفلناه وكل حاجة ماشيين يعني ولا كنت موجود.
احنا ما كناش يعني وما كناش نعرف ان في كوميونتي برضه ولا في حد بيعمل عليهم بلدن ولا
احنا ما كناش نعرف.
هو من شهرين بالظبط في واحد ناس من البلدن قلنا لا لازم انتوا تحضروا الكلام ده، بس احنا ما كناش نعرف نعمل ايه.
واول مره كان من شهرين
تقريبا
مش نعرف.
وقبل كده ما حدش اتكلم معاكم.
فجأة واحدة لقينا واحدة جايبة يعني
عامله لنا بتاع على البتاع
طلع 600 واحد يعني كيب ذا موديسن ذيس از بلاك، واحنا ما كناش نعرف.
ما كناش
نعرف ان حد كان بيعمل كومبلين على السموك وعلى البتاع. فاول لما بدأنا نعرف بدأنا نحسن من نفسنا، لان احنا بدأنا 3 سنين شغالين بالتراك، وقبل كده كنا بقالنا زيادة عن 7 سنين شغالين بالعربي. فاول لما عرفنا ماشي بدأنا نحسن من نفسنا، نبعد بعيد عن
الفاير. عارفين ازاي نوصل لهم،
ما كناش عارفين
بنعمل لهم اجنور او ما بنسمع لهمش، لا احنا ما كناش عارفين ازاي نوصل لهم.
فلما وبدأنا نوصل لهم يعني بدأنا نحسن بقى، نشوف ايه المشاكل بتاعتهم وبدأنا نحسن.
هي من شهرين بالظبط، هي في يعني كذا واحده من البيلدنج جت هتلاقي لازم يخشوا صوتوا لنفسكم في البتاع ده، واحنا ما كناش نعرف ايه ده ولا عمرنا سمعنا على حاجه زي كده قبل كده، فاهمني؟
فاحنا فحتى العربيه كانت بتبقى شغاله يعني احنا كان عندنا عربيه في المكان ده بتشتغل. فهمتني ليه الفرق ان العربيه
مش عايز
تراك، ليه مش عايز تحط التراك، يعني ليه مش عايز التراك مع ان التراك افضل للعربيه للمكان
عشان ما اعملش ترافيك او كده، عشان الناس تبقى في مساحه للناس تتحرك، الجنريتور ما يبقاش قريب من البيلدينج قوي، يبقى بعيد.
التراك شكله احسن وانضف.
فهمت
كلهم.
Okay, so they shared first of all, just a clarification of, they said about 2 months ago was the first time someone from the building spoke with them and shared that there was the collection of signatures that were eventually added to the letter that was shared. That was the first they'd heard of any sort of complaint from the building directly to them. And at the time, they didn't really understand like what would be how to get in touch with the right people to talk about these issues. And they have recently like tried to address these issues. So they shared that the smoke that was coming out of the grill, they've removed the grill altogether from their operations. Like the charcoal grill, which was creating the smoke, has been removed. They shared that in terms of the noise from the generators, they have like placed the generators inside the cart rather than on like an outside shelf in order to take away some of that noise. And they shared that the police recently came and even made a comment that the police had heard a noise complaint, but that the generator noise was actually very low. And they shared that they have been trying to turn off the lights at night. Those big like flashing LED lights have been turned off at night in order to address these concerns. And they also just wanted to share like from the perspective of why operate from a truck instead of a cart. And in their mind, operating from that truck is also a way to sort of take some of the pressure off of the sidewalk and to move things like the generator and the any exhaust that's coming or noise that's coming, moves it off the sidewalk and a few feet further away into the street, further from that building. So yeah, that was what they
Sorry.
wanted.
I really appreciate it. And one more very quick question, and we'll hear from the residents. And sorry, first of all, thank you. You're doing an excellent job of both translating and advocating for your client. I mean, really, this is very helpful. But can you confirm whether the truck that is in the spot right now, we believe that there is a truck out there. Is that your client's truck?
هم قالوا في تراك دلوقتي، ده التراك بتاعكم
بس مش شغال.
بس مش شغال.
ما بيشتغلش يعني احنا بنشغل العربية دلوقتي
مم.
مكانه، يعني هو نفس الحاجة، يعني قول له التراك
بس
ده
عشان
بتاع
عشان
بس
التكتات عشان
يعني
يعني مش لو شغالين الترك دلوقتي شغالين عربية صغيرة ماشيين الترك لحد ما نشوف حل عشان نحل مع
بالظبط.
بعض.
Uh,
عايزين ان احنا نبقى disrespect.
Yeah. So the truck that is parked there right now is their truck, and they are not operating the food vending out of that truck. Instead, they've been vending from a cart on the sidewalk, and the truck is parked as a commercial vehicle paying the meter. And
Yeah.
any
Yeah,
like food is being sold from the cart itself.
Okay, that's helpful.
So I have a clarification.
Yeah.
So,
مش عارف
so
ازاي
those
يعني.
things that you said they have done for the truck, have they also done that for the cart? Like the lights and the smoke? And
Yeah,
the
so
noise?
the charcoal grill was inside the truck. There is no charcoal grill inside the cart.
بس
بس
مش
مش
شغال.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood. There is a charcoal grill inside the
بس
the
ما
cart as
مش-
well, but they're not using
مش
it right
شغالة
now.
مش عارف.
What about the lights?
والأنوار.
We gotta close it.
Close it, close
Now,
the light.
if you check now, we close the lights. We used to have a big lights and not the LED light. We used to have a big one, but now we shut it down.
Mm.
If you wanna us to close the LED lights, we can close it. We don't have problem with it.
ما عندناش مشكلة.
We don't wanna take it personal with you guys. We just wanna find a way that we can, you know what I mean, work.
Yeah. So they're saying that they have taken away like brighter lights, and if
Now you see
the
white,
lights
the
that
white one, the big one
yeah yes, okay,
from
فهمت.
the other picture, not this one. The first one that you show.
So
There is a
so
big-
see there's
Yeah,
if you
this
see those
the white ones.
the white like what is
Yes,
it called,
yes,
the
yes.
fluorescent lights, they've shut those down
عشان
and in order to make less light pollution. If that is not enough, they're also willing to turn off more of the lights to keep more away.
يشيل الاسم.
All right, this has been very helpful, Charlie. Thank you very much for pulling up those photos. I think
Jesse,
this
I
is
have a quick question for them. The certificate of fitness is for the propane. You guys are using propane. Who has a certificate of fitness, and do you have a permit to store the propane tanks? And with the truck, the exhaust system, the range hood system and the exhaust system, how are they being inspected and maintained?
هو بيسأل عن مش البنزينة يعني البروبين، بس طبعا عشان الانسبكشن في الهيلث يعني كل حاجة تمام سليم صح؟
كله تمام. هو ليك في الترك لازم يكون في بس التوب وبين جاز كبيره،
والناس اللي
ولازم
بيجي هم
تكون
اللي بيجي بيحطوا في ناس في التراك بتاع
متخصصه
السيتي بيجي
متخصصه
يدينا.
بتاعت السيتي، هم
انت
بيجي
عارف
يركبوها ويمشوا.
بالظبط. Yeah, so all of those like the propane certificate of fitness, the truck exhaust, all of that is handled by the inspection at the health department, and the fact that they have a permit with the health inspection sticker is the proof positive that all of those laws are being followed.
No. They need a certificate of fitness to take a test from the fire department. Then they need a permit to store them properly in proper cages. This is not the health department. This is the fire department. These are fire hazards. And the exhaust system and the range hood system also, especially for the truck.
عايز البيم بتاع الفاير. قول له احنا معانا البيم بتاع الفاير اوريدي.
ومين الشخص اللي حاصل على البرمت ده من الفاير ديبارتمنت؟
احنا ميدو.
صلاح.
انا معانا.
ممكن اوريك صورته.
معانا صورته.
Salah is the one who has the certificate of competence from the fire department. And they don't store the propane on the truck, which is, you're correct to say, is not allowed. When they need more propane it is delivered. And I understand that you're trying to ask these questions, but I just want to remind everyone that there is a system in place by the health department to make sure all of these trucks are safe and are following the rules, and they have passed their health inspection. They pass the spot inspections when the health inspectors come, and they pass the inspections when they renew the permit.
But I was specifically talking about the fire codes and the fire things. These are very specific, not to the health, but to the fire. So, because these could be time bombs. If something goes wrong with those propane tanks, it'll be an explosion. And that's why these laws are in place. And that's why I'm asking specifically, because I'm concerned, and you're on a block, and also how the propane is transported when they're refilled. There's they need to store it in a special way while it's being transported to and from.
We'll take your word that you guys are in compliance right now with both health regulations and FDNY regulations, and it is helpful to hear that the propane is not stored on the truck. Hopefully that satisfies David. I really would like to, Alan, is that your hand up? All right, can we make it real quick? And I do want to really hear from the residents.
Just a point of information, you may have gotten the wrong information from the police department, but feeding the meter is illegal in New York City. You can't stand at a spot and continue to feed a meter. You need to move the vehicle once the time is up. You need to move it. If you come back and the space is still there, then it's yours. But you need to move it after the time is up. But a quick question: the permit to operate, to be in business, is that for two trucks? Is that for two separate businesses?
No, that's different.
You have two businesses going there.
You're
operating two trucks for one business.
Yeah, so I'm gonna step in and explain the permitting rules. So basically, for a mobile food vendor in the street, it's exactly the same as driving a car. Anyone who is preparing and selling food needs their own license with their own picture, and any unit from which food is being sold needs its permit, and that permit is the ABC health code, the health inspection sticker. So both the truck and the cart have their own permit, and they the fact is that they had to take a different one of their carts that could have been operating in a different location to operate in this location instead. And I will also, yeah, and they're saying
احنا واقفين هناك من زمان.
they've been in that location for a long time, and previously it had just been a
في
cart.
عربية على الكروس.
الفود وان سكند. الفود كارت هي دي
دي
اوريجينال وان دي
بالظبط.
كانت على السايد.
هي قلنا هي متجرشه دلوقتي في الكمشات.
Okay, let's go to the,
Okay.
All
So
right, thank you.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, let's move on. Thank you.
ايوه اشرح لي.
So they just wanted to share that the cart that's right there now is the original cart that had been previously in the location. And they'd replaced it with the truck about 3 years ago, and now they've brought back that original cart. And you can check, they are both inspected by the health department, they both have their permits.
Okay, that's helpful. So, appreciate it. So we're gonna hear from, if there are any residents online who want to speak to this, or anyone else who wants to speak to this, please raise your hand and we'll move you over. I will say, I'm asking residents to speak to anything they've heard. I am categorizing this in my head as two separate issues. One, you have just the mitigation issues of running a truck there to make it more palatable for residents. But on the other hand, we still have the problem of, as you said, what is a violation of not just the letter of the law, but in my opinion, also just the spirit of the law of having a 3-hour commercial zone there. And so even if, I'm just telling you this ahead of time, right? Like even if all the residents say, yeah, we would be, fine with the way you're operating, we as a board probably cannot endorse the illegal operation of a commercial vehicle. That being said, we can work with you to find a better location, which we would love to do. So that issue is still on the table, even as we hear you talk about your mitigation strategies, which we certainly, I know, speaking for the board here, do appreciate that you want to do that. But all right, so that's just for I'm gonna put a pin in my own speaking from the residents. So Janine, I'm not sure.
Your issue? Just the one that's discussing, that's what they're discussing.
Sorry, guys, do you mind muting yourselves while the other residents speak, and then
Voice.
allow you to respond to them, but actually, if you don't mind, just for if you don't mind just taking note of what the residents are saying, I think we'll let them all speak one after the other, and then let you respond in one go, if that's okay, rather than going back and forth. Because that can end up being great. So Janine, I'm not sure who's first, but if you don't mind letting them know.
I brought Brendan and Susan over.
Hello.
All right. So, hi Susan, hi Brendan. Susan, why don't you go first, and then we'll go to Brendan.
Okay, I'm going to try to skip through notes more quickly. They've been very disrespectful, even after they were ticketed and visited and told that they are doing wrong things. They lock their vehicle in some kind of braces. They don't move. I have taken a picture of the truck with a chalk line that shows they haven't moved at all. They're in defiance. When they were given all this information and tickets for violations, they doubled down. They brought 2 carts, which I don't think is even allowed because they have a permit for 1. They keep receiving food deliveries in the street. They take up 2 or 3 lanes. They come with 3 or 4 vehicles. They have a van, a white van, their truck, their cart, a black pickup truck. They command the corner as if it belongs to them. It's their right. And it takes away space for the people who are trying to serve the building, our carpenters, our electricians, our landscape people. And by the way, you cannot, even as a resident, park 3 hours, pay a meter, and refeed the meter. And no, you may not go away and come back, or hold the space and come back, which is probably what I suspect they would do. The flashing lights, of course, you see, are under residential windows, as are the smoke and the smell of the cooking meat. There's grease floating in puddles of water on the street after a rain. Recently, we had a fire in the building right above them on the 7th floor. Had nothing to do with them. They didn't move. The fire trucks are parked outside of where they are. The hoses had to reroute to around the corner to a hydrant not the one right behind their truck. I don't know why they didn't choose it. They were unrolling hoses on the sidewalks. I have a picture that their people were in the way, as were other bikes and carts, but that's another issue. The generator, maybe they moved it inside, used to take a third lane of traffic. From the traffic. It is a wide street, but that generator was noisy. And from the photos that I have, I don't know that they are bringing their truck in for the cleaning that they're claiming. I will watch, though, that they are. I do not look over the space, so I'll let Brendan do that.
Susan, I'm gonna move to
Yeah.
Brendan real quick. Just to clarify, are any of the comments that you've made specifically from the last month or so when the truck has been
Yes.
back? Or,
Yes.
and so your concerns remain?
Yeah. They show a lack of respect, and I would like to honor them, respect them. It's very difficult. They are flaunting whatever is happening, and they own that corner. They literally, I guess they let another card in. I've seen that situation happen where people don't, but I'm done.
Yeah, I want to say they own that corner. You know, I think we would have the same concern if it was a business which is not in the truck. So if a business was doing the same thing and they were in the more, business.
Yeah.
So it's not I think the comments are not about the fact that it's a food vendor. It's about the fact that there is a lot of activity which doesn't seem right for any business. Okay, so I just want that to be on the record.
Thank you.
Okay, Brendan, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Because of how contentious this situation is, I don't care to share my face at this time. If that is okay with everyone, is that okay?
Fine, go ahead.
So I just, I hate to use the word, but there's quite a severe level of deception occurring here. If we take it back, they said they don't know anything about this until 2 months ago when there was this letter that went out and that they saw there was a petition signed by 100 people. That's entirely untrue. Mido's truck had a QR code on their truck all summer in response to the petition that we started, asking for people to sign their petition to help them stay in that spot. So right off the bat, we've been deceived right here. That petition still lives online. I will send it to you. I've sent it to you before, so we can take care of that right off the top. They know that they shouldn't be in that spot. If you go to How's My Driving NYC, you can look up the license plate of the truck. In 2025 alone, they received 11 tickets for vending in the metered space. That is patently false, that they know that this is not a problem, that they don't know that this is a problem. Also, as Susan brought up, it's not just the food truck, it's also the 2 white vans that they use to service their business that are parked in these metered zones as well. And they're also almost always double parked on the lane side, on the moving lane outside of the truck. The grill, I'm aware, I'm sure you saw the pictures that I sent you last Friday with the grill spewing smoke out of it. I sent these on last Friday to Christine. I sent them to you. Maybe you didn't see them. The grill is still in action. It's okay, but the grill, I will send you the pictures. The grill is still in action. The grill is very much firing from the truck, not the cart. The truck itself has been in the same spot since it returned at 4:30 a.m. on April 2nd. The truck has not left. What they were talking about with the commissary is the small cart, which they bring every day, that leaves at 4:30 in the morning for maybe 2 hours. So this is also a deception of going to a commissary. The truck stays there 24 hours a day. The truck is currently squatting in the metered zone. The truck squats in the metered zone from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. closed up. Then at 7 p.m., from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., they use their small cart because they're on the sidewalk. So this is a loophole. They're on the sidewalk from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with their cart. The truck is in the lane from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. closed. At 7 p.m., they fire up the grill in the truck, they move the cart, and then they start operating from the truck in the metered zone from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So this is another loophole and also a deception of they're trying to respect the people here. Because when the truck fires up at 7 p.m., which has the loudest noise, the most smoke, the most lights, which attracts the most customers, is when we are trying to enjoy our home. That is not what this is for. This sidewalk is not for business to be operating out of. So that's another check right there. The generator noise. The cart that they have on the sidewalk during the day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., the generator is in the cart with the door of the cart open with the exhaust of the generator sticking out the side. You can hear it in our apartments. I told you last time, it's measured at 85 to 95 decibels inside of our apartment. So that also is not being solved. The lights, yes, they have turned off. They're large LED lights. Right now, the truck is outside with the marquee lights scrolling. So that doesn't help us at all either. The law says that you cannot stay and feed the meter in a 3 hours go, 3 hours go, 3 hours go. You must leave. That was a nice way for the cops to give them a little break. I've seen it going on. I spoke to the quality team who've been assigned to this. They're also on the side of that this is a deceptive situation that's going on here. There is no way that Mohammed has not known about this. I myself have spoken to Mohammed in 2021, 2022, 2023, and I stopped speaking to them years ago because there was obviously nothing that was going to happen with them. So no to no dialogue, because that is absolutely not true. I think, so the commissary not happening. One of the other large problems with this is that this truck has e-delivery from Seamless and all of the other delivery apps. So we have all of the bikes coming up onto the sidewalk and blocking the sidewalk while they're picking up food from the truck. That is not something that should be happening on our sidewalk. This is, again, not zoned for a business. That's what I have right now, but I don't want to keep wasting everybody's time.
No, we appreciate it. But and just again to confirm a lot of what you were saying, especially when you're talking about the cart and the grill and the exhausts right now, that's still an issue right now. Is that correct?
It's the grill is not on right now, but give it a few minutes. But
I mean, not now, like literally now.
No,
I mean,
like-
like now, since the truck has been back.
Since our.
oh yes, of course, yes, of course, yes, yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean at this exact moment. Okay, appreciate all that. I think that conforms with a lot of what we heard before, and from you and from others. We're gonna move on to others. Thank you for sharing that. And I know Mr. Essa wants to respond, but we're still gonna wait to get through all the residents. Janine, are there anyone else online?
No, there's no more hands.
Oh, there's no one's. Okay. Sure. Can we let them respond first? I want to give them a chance to respond to what they heard. All right, Mr. Essa, why don't you give, we'll let you have a moment to respond to what you heard, and then we're gonna probably discuss this as a committee. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you everyone for attending tonight and obviously sharing your feelings. I'm gonna speak for myself as Calvin Harrison, an employee of the street vendor project. I know that the temperature of this conversation, and I think the temperature of this relationship has really the temperature is very high, and I don't want to raise the temperature, but I do just want to share some legal outlines about street vending. I completely understand people's concerns about the way this might be affecting their the quality of life in their apartment, but I do just want to make a couple specific comments about what was just shared. there is no law in New York City that regulates what type of food you can smell from your apartment. There's no law in New York City that regulates where deliveristas can or cannot stop their bikes. And there is no law in New York City that prevents street vendors from vending based on the zoning of the block. I just want people to understand that these are the laws of the city. The city allows street vending on any 12-foot wide sidewalk on any street that has not been specifically designated closed, as long as the vendor can be 10 feet from the crosswalk and 20 feet from the entrance of the building. The location of their cart is in compliance with all of those rules about vending. They could have 10 carts next to one another as long as they're in compliance with those rules. There is no law that prevents them from having more than one cart. As I explained earlier, each individual cart has to have its own permit, and that is the case right now. And I'm going to let them speak. But something was said that the sidewalk is not for businesses to be operating out of. Unfortunately, the laws of the city of New York, because of the long history of street vendors in our city, street vendors providing food, providing items for people, the laws actually do allow street vending on the streets that are in compliance. Words like deception and disrespectful, I think both, Mu'min and Salah are here out of respect for the community board to have this conversation. And they also are trying to run a business that, supports their family, supports the families of their workers. It's also a business that serves the hospital workers down the street. It's a business that serves, frankly, the same cops that are occasionally writing a ticket are also the cops that are eating. The doormen of the buildings are eating. Like this, I understand the ways that this can feel. I understand that there are concerns of the residents of this building, but at the same time, we have to understand that we live in Manhattan and the street is a shared space, and the laws, I understand that the law that is being broken right now is this law about parking. They chose to operate out of a truck in the parking spot, knowing that they would be in violation of a law that, for what it's worth, many vendors are in violation of around the city. Understanding that might actually be preferable for residents of the neighborhood. It is clear from this conversation that isn't preferable, but I would like to lay a groundwork for people to understand that you cannot tell someone not to sell food on that corner. The corner belongs to the people of the city of New York, and the laws of the people of the city of New York say that someone can sell there. And now I'm gonna let them share.
We appreciate that. Yes. Thank you for that perspective. And yeah, if you want to just respond to some of the specific points you heard, but in particular on notification, meaning like having heard the concerns from the residents for years now, well, obviously, yes, you feel free to respond to anything that you heard, and then we'll talk amongst ourselves.
Right, let me raise another question. I think we understand your points about the law. They are very well taken. But the question is, we all want to be good neighbors, right? So what do we do? What do you do? What do they do for getting along better? And we know that they don't want the lights. So we need to deal with the lights. Yeah. But at the same time, you don't want to tell us that you have done something if you have not, because then nobody trusts anybody, right? So I think it's really important that we are very honest with each other. And then the second thing is, the grill is a major issue, and the grease and all that stuff. And what can you install something in the cart and in the truck, which is going to remove the grease? there are systems which are doing that. Can you install that? So these are two things, and then the noise of the generator, I mean, you know, I don't know what you can do about that, but let's say those two things we know, you could do something about that. And it could be visible and it could make a big difference. And you know, the question is, are you open to do that? And are you open to do that really, rather than telling us, yeah, we did it, but it's not. Then we are not going to be friends, right? Obviously. So that's what we are talking about. Oh,
I feel like it's the game of the sorry.
قول لي ما عايز
انا هنا عشان احل اي
انا
مشكله.
عايز احل مشكلتهم كلها كده كلها هنا مش عايز اكون كويس.
ما عنديش اي مشكله مع اي مشكله انت عايز انا احلها بتاع البروبين جاز. في انسبكتور من على الهيلث ومن الفاير ديبارتمنت، انا معايا بيرمت من الفاير ديبارتمنت كمان
وعايز احل مشاكلهم
وعايز انا
أيوة.
انا مش
وبالنسبة لي هي برضو قالت يعني في برضو تقريبا
العلاقة كويسة.
هي قالت يعني في صعوبة في العلاقة انه
أيوة.
هم سامعين انتوا بتقولوا احنا صلحتوا كذا، وهم شايفين المشكلة دي ما اتحلتش، يعني مثلا
عشان انا مش قادر انتوا كلهم بتعملوا كومبلين.
انا مش عارف، لا مش حته كده. انا عايز اعرف ايه الغلطات اللي المفروض انا اعملها وانا هصلحها.
وشكلهم الغلطات الكبيرة هي النور والجريل.
لهم انا اصلح.
اقول لهم لو انتوا مش عايزين افتح، قولوا لي من الساعه كام للساعه كام النور اللي بره ما يكونش مفتوح.
أيوة.
انا هعمل
وانا عايز اشتغل
من الساعه كام.
انا عايز اشتغل.
انا مش جاي ان انا اعاد حد، انا بس عايز اعمل ليفنج
كده
عشان كل معايا ناس كده شغاله عندهم عائلات.
معايا ناس 12 واحد شغال في التراك كلهم كده، معايا 12 واحد شغال في التراك وعايز اشتغل معاك. كل
تسعة
فهمتني؟ قول لهم كل الناس اللي بتيجي تاكل من عندكم، من الناس اللي عايشه. انا
ما كنتش عارف ان معايا ليكم مشكله. هي بس من فتره قريبه هي واحده جت قالت لي حط الباركود ده عندك علشان في كذا، بس انا ما كنتش مستوعب اللي بيحصل.
كنتش فاهم الموضوع كده.
فاهم الموضوع مثلا لازم اروح اتكلم
اصلح لكم اللي انتوا عايزينه.
اي حاجه البروبين جاز انا في بيرمت من الفاير ديبارتمنت.
انا عايز ابقى معاكم، انا يعني عايز اشتغل معاكم.
اي مشكله انت عايزني احلها.
ماشي.
بس وانا عايز اكون نايس
انا عايز
معاكم.
برضه
لما تشوفني اضحك في وشك، اقول لهم اللي انا بقول كده نكون احنا كويسين بس
واي
نشتغل.
جريس في الارض لو موجود حاجه دلوقتي يقول لي
وانا اشيلها.
ممكن يبعت لي يعني
ياخد رقمي تليفوني واي حاجه يكلمني.
اي حاجه لو في اي حاجه صغيره اي حاجه كبيره يبعتها لي بس. ولو جه لو عدى من تاني ولقى ما صلحتش يجي
انا اجي له انا
او ابعت للكوميونتي بورد الحاجه اللي انا المفروض اعملها واكون عملتها.
ياخد رقم تليفوني لو هو عايز، لو في اي حاجه
في
يكلمني.
اي حاجه صغيره
فاهم.
اي حاجه عايزنا اي حاجه
يعني
هات لي بس
خليني اترجم. Okay. So the first comment was regarding the QR code for the I think it was a change.org petition. Mu'min shared that a customer had come and said, put this QR code up for people to support the business. He didn't understand this was in response to like specific complaints from the building. So that's why the QR code was up. And the exchange we just had was Salah and Mu'min just confirming that, you know, what they want is to have a good relationship with their neighbors. They shared, you know, there's 9 ولا 12 بيت فات 9. There's you know there's 9 families of the workers who work on this business that are supported by this business being able to run. And they shared, like, it seems like their reduction of the light, it's clear that that wasn't enough. So they're willing to, you know, if you want to share what hours do they need to be aware of keeping the lights down, they'll follow those hours. They offered, you know, if there's grease on the floor, they'll clean it up, you know, from the street. I'll add my own editorialism right here, which is that you know, it has been, obviously today it feels like winter was years ago, but it was just really snowy and icy for a long time. And so some other vendors I work with in other parts of the city, you know, suddenly there was all this stuff in the road from the melted ice. And it, you know, the vendors keep their own carts clean. and they do what they can to clean the street around them. But, you know, if there's grease in the street, that doesn't necessarily mean it's coming from the truck. Now I'm returning to what Salah and Mu'min said. And they both shared, they're happy to share their phone numbers with the community, with the neighbors. If the neighbors see something that needs to be fixed, they can call them and they will make sure that it's seen to.
Okay. Thank you very much for those all the responses. And I do want to again express that certainly we appreciate the fact that you are here and trying to work through this issue. That certainly goes a long way. And of course, we recognize that these are your livelihoods and that, you know, people do depend on this. So we as a committee, as I was trying to allude to before, really do try to come up with solutions, compromises, whatever it might be, to find a path forward. Again, I will say, you know, we are going to be a little bit hamstrung by the, you know, the letter of the law, as you mentioned before. But we're gonna try to see what we can work out. So we may be asking, I'm sure as we speak amongst ourselves, some additional questions. But I'm gonna open it up to the floor now. If you have questions that you need answered, feel free to ask them. But otherwise, if people have ideas on how they would want to move forward, I can give you my own suggestion if you want to hear that first. But otherwise, I'm also open to hear. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to bring up one thing that I really haven't been talking about much. What really bothers me about this is, you know, our city is zoned in many different ways, right? Most of the avenues are zoned as like C8 commercial zoning with residential on top. This particular spot is actually zoned as residential, like it's zoned as residential, R8 zoning. So it's not a commercial zoning in front of what they're at. So a few problems I have with that is, I mean, I'm not an expert on this by any means, but I don't think you can park commercial vehicles overnight on a residentially zoned area, which this is. So in addition to the other parking violations, they're also violating not parking in a residential area overnight, which I think is a huge issue. And that's specifically because of this very issue that they're facing, that the residents are facing. So I think we should look into that more. But this is a specially zoned area that we have not paid attention to. If they move just down the block to where it's more commercial zoning, this wouldn't be an issue, or anywhere on Ninth Avenue. But this one particular spot on this one particular street is zoned as residential.
I'd like to turn to our traffic lawyer, our legal traffic expert.
Talking about down the street. The problem that we have with this block is even if this truck weren't there, 58th Street is a wildly populated, busy block, okay? You have a bank that's there, you have Deutsche Bank. I mean, quite honestly, it is hectic. It is a hectic block with or without this business. But this business, thankfully for them, and congratulations, they have a great business that's constantly serving people. And so in terms of sidewalk, the tenants also have an argument that you have to walk between the customers who are waiting to be served. They're doing great, okay, which is, you know, congratulations, but it does create an extra problem that they're so successful. The other issue is obviously the truck that is parked in the street. I don't see, I mean, this truck has been there for a certain amount of time and residents have complained, and it has gotten to a point that it's sort of like a red herring, okay? Everyone's looking now. I mean, you walk down that street, you check in, I've gotten photographs throughout the week. I've gotten audios saying, you know, playing the sounds coming from whatever's going, okay? The issue is not gonna go away, and we can't actually give permission to violate a law. No one can, the police can't, I can't, no one can, the mayor can't. I mean, it's a matter of regulations. So in terms of the truck staying there for more than the allotted time, even if I love these guys, I can't help them. I'm powerless. The issue is though, okay, so now we're gonna take away the truck because we can't give permission. That's not an issue. Okay, that's off the table. So now we have the carts, okay, and how to deal with the carts. And quite honestly, I'm not fluent in court law, but I assure these guys that people will get fluent in court law over the next few months. And if there is a violation, it will be noted because this, whatever is happening there has bothered the tenants, okay?
I want to make a comment about that because I became an expert in court law. Some months ago or some years ago, when we had issues. But, so the courts can do a lot, and it's very difficult to move them. And, you know, there is, I mean, except for the point you are making about that residential zoning and the gentleman, hold on, the gentleman there was saying there is no law and we need to verify that.
That's
But
not true.
what?
There are laws about congestion, cannot operate on any, you can't just operate on any side.
Well, I can just tell you that right now, if you go on 39 and 8th Avenue, which is incredibly crowded.
Yes.
There are huge cars there everywhere. And they're fine. I mean, they are legal. So the problem of the cart is a different animal.
How about, wait, we deal with this all the time, clear passage.
No, there is not that. They have a law, and we have discussed that previously, that the law is written in a certain way that it doesn't guarantee a clear passage. It says you have to be 5 feet from the tree guard, which means that you have 2 feet left, which is why we wrote a letter 1 year ago saying, hey, you have to standardize the clear passage. So in terms of, I worked for months on 39 and 8 to try to move one vendor and, you know, couldn't move it. So.
But I take, Tina, the point that I really take from this is like was gonna be sort of where I wanted to maybe bring this conversation, is to separate the truck from the cars.
Right.
And
Yes.
realize, you know, I do kind of agree, I agree with you that, you know, we really can't, we can't possibly write a letter saying we're okay with a truck, you know, violating a commercial, you know, the commercial space 3 hours a day, although, you know, I would say we would love to work with them to find a new place for their truck, but I think we would encourage them to work with the residents on good operation of their cart for a period of time, build up trust, build up better neighborly relations with just the cart. And then, you know,
And I think that's what I was going to, is saying if we can resolve the lights.
Yeah,
right?
the lights and the
And
smoke.
have a real, you know, cleaner, I mean, what is it called, those machines that clean the air, you know, in the
Filter.
filter, and install the filter in their carts, then we would have taken care of, you know, 2 big pieces as part, and then we can go from there.
Right.
Makes sense.
Does anyone else have any other suggestions on the committee?
I mean, I think that like, they just have to figure out a way to make it work, because if not, then like, maybe we should write a letter that says, can you add 58th Street to the list of prohibited streets? Like,
That's
where
very
people
tall.
can't theft, you know?
Very tall order.
Prohibited for vendors?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a bunch of streets that you're not allowed to have a food
Right.
truck.
That's the old.
And that's the procedure, I explored that procedure a long time ago.
Well, it says 39th is on it. and it's
What?
not.
No, but
38.
39 on the east side of 8, not on the west side, I think.
On the east side, it says it's not restricted.
That's what I'm saying, not on the
Well,
west
that
side.
sounds, but that does sound like that would be a you know, a stick for us.
Most of the, you know, like street prohibitions, like relative to the size of the city are, it's a very limited number of streets where they're prohibited. And it's mostly, like the core business district where there's just too much flow on the sidewalk. I don't think we want to prohibit anyone from doing business here ever again. Like, if a responsible operator were to use this, and there are other vendors like, you know, one avenue
hospital
over
is nearby.
that are doing business that are not bothering anybody, doing reasonable hours, not causing these same sort of issues. I don't know about the park situation or every other vendor, but I don't think we want to say this is a no.
No, I think it's a
vendor
helpful,
situation.
a helpful thing to have as an encouragement to like to operate the carts well. Any other thoughts, and then I'll try to put together a proposal for.
I just have one comment, which is, I think we all sort of agree that if it's 3-hour metered parking, then we don't think it's 24 hours for 3 years. And I just wanted to say out loud that just because the police say it's cool with us, it doesn't mean it's not. Because the police are cool with a lot of parking in the neighborhood, that it's not.
So my suggestion would be, first I'll say, Calvin, you know, I appreciate you letting us talk and discuss, because I know you're thinking of this as an expert actually in vendor regulations, and so thanks for letting us work this out. But I think our, my suggestion would be basically to say, yes, we really can't do anything about the 3-hour parking, and we do think that should be enforced, and it is there for a reason. It's, 3-hour spot, and you really need to move. You can sit there for 3 hours, and you really got to move your truck. We would love to help you and find a new location for your truck. We can walk the district with you. We're happy to try to find a better spot, maybe closer to the hospital, and work with you there. On the second piece is, we recognize it is a good location for you. You have your cart, you operated it well there. So we would say you can continue to operate your cart there. We're not going to take issue with that, but we would encourage you to employ the strategies that you've already kind of agreed to employ in terms of mitigating the issues that have come out from both your cart and your truck, in terms of the exhaust pipe, getting an air filter, reducing the lights, keeping the generator wherever it is to reduce sound. Exactly what you said, giving phone numbers. You're giving your phone number to the residents so that they can call you if there are issues. That I think is always a really helpful step, so that a dialogue is created. And I do think if after a year or so of decent operation with a cart in that spot, if you wanted to come back to us about, where we could advocate for changing the parking regulations, and that we cannot do that. But the point is like we can
I don't
find
think it's on the table.
the sign itself. Yeah, because there's a reason that you have a commercial loading zone there, which is like a bunch of people. It's really tough. It's a really tough street. In terms of having a truck there, it's just a tough street. But we would love to go ahead.
And the other thing I don't understand is that if now you're operating from the cart, you don't need to have the truck there parked. Why? Why keep the truck? So I mean, it looks like once you're operating from the cart, you could have your truck in another parking location anywhere. So
according to the testimony from the resident, they are operating the trucks.
But I mean,
which my video I took was from Monday night.
We've heard now a couple of different pieces where we do believe that you are still operating from the truck, even though you have the cart outside, which is obviously disconcerting.
So I think asking for the not operating from the truck is an ask, because if you don't operate from the truck, then you can move the truck.
Right, and I would assume it would help to have a truck and the cart at different locations would be good for business, but.
I was always under the impression that you can't operate period in a metered spot. Food vending.
What?
Probably true.
There's a big court case a while ago about this, how there was a guy who tried to argue that food wasn't merchandise, because you can't sell merchandise from a spot in a metered space. And there's a food truck that tried to argue that food is not merchandise, so he's exempt from this rule. That was shot down by the courts downtown. And I don't think you can sell food, period, full stop in a
From
metered
a meter
space.
space?
And I think that includes that too.
Mobile vendors are prohibited from operating metered.
Nonetheless, it's not even here.
Well, even if they don't do the point of sale in the metered space, even if they do the point of sale in the cart, they're still operating in the metered space by preparing food there.
Yeah, the cops are enforcing this. So, I mean, so. Absolutely. So as we said, our hands are kind of tied on the actual truck, regardless of even our concerns with it. I just don't think there's much we can do there, although I'm sorry to hear that the consequences for this were so severe for you. And so again, we would love to work with you to find alternative locations for the truck. But we are still going to advocate that you continue to try and operate the carts in a neighborly manner and take all the actions that you promised here to take. And then, and we won't, if that's the case, then we won't, try to change the regulations on the street to make it so that there can't be any vending whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or try to have you removed otherwise. So
that's just state for the record.
Yeah.
That their food is actually very good.
I believe their food is amazing. The food is amazing. We have no question about that. That is also a matter on the record.
That's the problem.
So we want to be able to. So, I'll let you go. I just wanted to, we do have a response start. We have a little more political on, but.
Can we just specify a little bit more what the community wants in terms of like the app around the lights and when it needs to be off?
Yeah.
Because I think if we sort of like, we're losing that opportunity to, I think, apply some specific asks, as well as I think what you were saying, Tina, like there's definitely opportunities to queue in such a way that it's closer to the corner.
Yeah,
So that
that's a
it's
great.
versus, and they could just
Yeah.
apply some, you know,
Great point.
Great point.
rope or
Remember
something.
Or something.
Yeah, so just those things that we can actually create some, you know, easy wins in terms of how the community can work together. If we can outline those things here, it sort of makes it very clear for Mr. Essa to say, hey, a year from now, these are the things you asked and we've largely complied. You know, could you guys relook at whatever it is, you know?
But this ask is of the carts.
This happens of the cards, not
Yeah,
the truck,
correct.
yes, we really can't do anything about the truck, but we would expect it to be, and yeah, I mean, I think. In the letter that we draft, we would have specifics about night, you know, and make sure the lights are off after a certain hour. And you know, we'll have specific suggestions about exhaust and pipes based on, we have to go back and look at some of the. We may not come up with all the specifics right now, but we'll have some specific suggestions on how we think you should operate your cards. In the hopes that you would be able to abide by those, but I want to be able to let them respond to what they've heard, if they're amenable to any of this. So let's let them talk and then we'll take a vote.
Someone said music earlier, right?
Music, yeah. Okay.
The voice music?
I also want to make sure that they comply with the FDNY codes dealing with propane and the exhaust and range hood.
Thank you, David.
Sorry, David, I didn't catch that.
No, that's what he said earlier.
He was reminding you about
I want to
that.
make sure that, you know, you all comply, because you mentioned the health department. There's stuff with dealing with other agencies in the FDNY, dealing with the propane, the certificate of fitness, the storage and transporting, and also especially if you're using that truck, the range hood and exhaust system.
Yes, yes, and I did share earlier that they have the certificate of.
But you said from the
competency.
health, I want to make sure that the FDNY.
Sir, Mr. Warren, I just want to make it clear, like, these are business owners and they know how to run their business. We're having a conversation about specific issues that are bothering specific neighbors, and we're happy to have that conversation respectfully. But I do not walk into a restaurant and ask them. I assume that if someone is running a business that has its health sticker, that they are in compliance. They are in compliance. They're happy to send copies of anything if you'd like to provide your email. But I think.
Yeah, but restaurants inspectors go in and actually inspect the restaurant. There's specific.
Which is also what happens
that
to
go
food
in here.
carts. Which is also what happens to food carts, to be class.
We understand.
And I want to provide my own comment. Me as Calvin and us as the Street Vendor Project, we'd be more than happy to set up a training for anyone involved in the community board. We're happy. We have a lot of materials. I have a really helpful little thing right here about all the laws around where someone is allowed to vend. We're more than happy to do training so that folks can understand, you know, where
Yeah, that would be great.
what the
that would be
rules
great.
say. Because we, you know, I and I'll share what Salah and Mu'min were sharing with me. And I appreciate, I'm not sure who said it, but one of the people in the room shared that maybe we could have some specific takeaways, like boxes that could be checked. Because I think that would be very helpful. What they were sharing is that, you know, they're here to be respectful and to be good neighbors. In their opinion, the truck is a nicer neighbor than several carts next to one another. Given that several carts next to one another would take up more space on the sidewalk, would move the business closer to the door, et cetera, et cetera. If the truck cannot be abided by, that they are willing to put multiple carts, But as I've shared earlier, there are no restrictions that you can fall back upon for the operation of those carts as long as they have their permit and are cited in the correct location. And Salah and Mu'min are more than happy to be here today and listen to what the community needs in terms of the noise and the lights. But there is nothing in the law book about noise and light, unfortunately, or fortunately. You can look at it either way.
So actually, I'm sorry, I do need to understand though, is what you were saying that if we don't support the truck in its place, your client will operate their carts however they please without any acknowledgement of the residents who nearby, or without any concern with any of the other things that you've discussed about how you would adjust.
No, that's not what we're sharing. But they just wanted to share.
أي عربية تقف عادي ممكن يبقى عربيات كتير ما تقدرش تقول لهم حاجة بس الطريق أحسن.
They're saying that the truck would provide like a more concentrated operation, that basically to provide the amount of food to the customers they have, they would need multiple carts next to one another. And that there is no law about having multiple carts next to one another.
How many carts do you guys need for one truck?
To replace
هو يكون البيزنس بتاع التراك واحد محتاج كام عربية؟ لو هتشيل تراك وهتشتغل يعني نفس عدد الزباين يكون نفس العدد.
أقل حاجة 2.
He said at least 2.
Okay.
That's good. Okay.
وهيكون
All right, so
بنفس
are we ready to have a motion? Because you said the motion. You said the comment.
So what I'd love someone else to.
My only thought is we have the residents who's been working on this for 3 years. Is this a good outcome for them, having 3 carts instead of 1 truck? I don't know. It may be, yeah.
There's not an issue.
So wait,
We're not giving permission for anything, but like, to be clear, we don't, like, that's totally different from saying like, we don't say like, we support that, but
Right.
that's totally different from, it's a reality, it's there,
Yeah.
what can we do to make it
We're trying to
possible?
understand the carts we have.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So do we have a motion, please?
Wait, did we ever agree on like specific like boxes that can be checked in terms of like, like lights must be off after this time, or like
Well, we need to
volume must
get
be
that
low?
from
Their hands are up if we want to give them 1 minute.
Yeah, that's fine. Can we hear from the,
Brendan?
Janine, can you move Brendan over?
And Susan is.
For specific, I can.
Yeah,
For
sure.
specific recommendations of what they would want to see from the cart operators.
No.
We're asking them, yeah.
As good neighbors, right? Right. Okay,
Go
Brendan.
ahead, Brandon.
So Brendan, the question is, if we ask them to restrict the lights on the cart or the truck, right? What would be the hours of restriction? Or Susan, one or the other.
All right, what else would you want to see?
The grease.
I mean, there's a bunch of things.
Exhaust and the grease is the same thing. Right,
I mean, at least 3 things: noise, a light, and
Exhaust.
grease. Yeah.
yeah, it's like you.
Thank you.
Oh, and the,
Brandon, are you with us?
Brendan?
I am.
Yeah, Susan, you go ahead while we wait. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. There are other vendors on that spot. There's a coffee guy, a fruit guy, and another cart that looks somewhat like theirs.
I'm
I
here.
don't think it's fair to push them aside to give them 2 carts or 3 carts. I think that they're overbearing.
Susan, I'm not asking that, Susan.
Yeah, okay. I also have a question on,
About if, no, we have a very specific question.
oh, what is that?
The question, you need to help the community. So the question is, if we are asking them to reduce the lights and to turn off the lights, either on the carts or on the truck, what would be the hours where they can have the lights or they have to turn off the lights?
Between 10 and 11 at night when people start to get,
10 to 8 o'clock in the morning?
well, it gets light by 8 o'clock in the morning.
10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I still think there are other things.
And
that
can I-
could be-
Sorry, I was.
My other question is, why is there no vendor along the Dime Warner Center? He said they're New York City streets. We have no way to regulate them. Somebody is allowing that, and I agree, but I don't understand that.
Susan, I just want to get us going in a back and forth. I think we just want to get.
Okay.
Here.
Just put yourself in our place under your window. I'm sorry.
Oh, we understand. We're doing our best here.
Excuse me. Yes, sorry, I was here. I was on mute. I just want to say when I speak on behalf of the 100 or so people who signed the signature a year ago about this problem. And they know, they're watching. So, and I don't mean that as a threat, but they are informed of what happens during these meetings. So Christine, I understand. So this is what I'm saying. I don't think this is the appropriate forum to discuss what those options are, because we really need to, as a community, say, what are our proposals? I'm the only one here right now. And to say like lights and this, like if it would be best if we could get back to you with those proposals instead of going through it now, because it's really it's a large list. You know, it's not, I think we're.
And I assume, sorry, Brendan, but I assume that if we encourage you to take the time to actually work directly with the operator, that is not something that you'd be comfortable with, and that you're coming to this venue because we can act as a mediator here.
No, but
Correct.
Brendan is, he wants to talk to the 100.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying we could also.
Right. So Brendan, if you follow up with your 100 people and ask for the hours, just let us know.
And
quickly.
And what your specifics would be.
Yes, when I was saying, Calvin, when I was saying this is not a zone for residential, we live here. This is our home. And we have the right to enjoy our home. And we cannot do that with these businesses operating outside of our home. It's just not possible. It devalues our real estate. It really affects our lives. This is not about lights. It's about lights and smoke and all that, but this is our home and this is our life. And that is not being respected. So yes, we will get back to you with a list of items, and we really appreciate the time, but please think of this as our home, because that's what's going on here.
Yeah. And Brendan, I appreciate, thank you for speaking and explaining your point of view. I think, right, like this is the beautiful mess and difficulty of living in New York, right? Is that my house is next to someone's business, is next to someone's doctor's office, is next to someone's school. And I completely understand where you're coming from. But Salah and Mu'min, their answer is that, and this is how they pay for their home, and this is how their employees pay for their homes. This is how the nurses at the hospital get a meal late at night when they're on the night shift, right?
But I assure you this would not be, these gentlemen would not want this in front of their home. I assure you.
All right, thank you both. We're gonna stop the conversation there.
Jesse, can I?
We as a committee are. What's that, Janine?
Sorry, there was Eddie Mercado on. He hasn't had a chance to speak. I don't know if you want me to put him over.
He's on the board.
The co-op.
Okay. Co-op. All right, we'll hear briefly from Eddie, but then I think we really do need to move on. So.
Okay.
He just joined.
Yeah, I mean, we missed an opportunity.
Right. So Janine, are you bringing him over?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's over now.
No, Eddie. Is it Eddie?
Yeah, hi, sorry.
Hi, Eddie. All right, do you mind just because we've been at this for a while now, if you don't mind just limiting your remarks to a minute or two, and then we'll hear from you. Right, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say that I've been here for the entire time. I was letting Brendan and Susan represent us because they've been the most active involved. But in terms of, the rest of the community, I am the secretary of the board. The entire community is especially in that wing, is very, very impacted by their business. In addition to that, our staff is impacted by the fact that we have to clean up all of our garden beds, all of our tree beds from all of the garbage that is thrown all over the place by their customers. So when, there was a comment earlier about they being willing to scrub the sidewalks and whatnot from the grease. That would have to be absolutely on the list of things that they have to do, because there's stuff all over our gardens that our staff has to clean up constantly. There are streets, I don't know if the community board realizes this, but our street happens to not get any street cleaning. So their grease is all over our streets, and we have tons and tons of photos of all of the grease coming from their trucks. We have photos of it in the summer. We have photos of it in the winter when it's been iced over and completely solid frozen. So this is an ongoing problem that they're creating in front of our building and our community. And there's a long list. And I will also say I agree with Brendan that it's difficult to put our community on the spot right now to decide whether or not 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whatever it is the right hour. So I appreciate the community board giving us a chance to come back to you with some hours and some talking points of what we feel might be acceptable.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to give you the last word before we now move on to our vote here. So just to summarize one more time, we're generally not taking a position. The position on the truck is what the law is, which is they really can't. We will reiterate what we said in our first letter of they just cannot be in a commercial loading zone for more than 3 hours, and they can't move it and come back, and they can't keep paying a meter. That's not acceptable. But they can move to their carts. But we want to, if they do that, then we would want to see their carts operated in a respectful manner. And so there will be a list of the residents are going to speak, and they will come up with a list of how they would want to work with the carts. But I assume they're going to include things like having the operator's phone number, turning off the music, turning off the noise, turning off the lights at certain times, setting up queuing for both the delivery driver workers who are picking up food, but also customers, scrubbing sidewalks from the grease. But they will come back to us with more specifics. And then assuming they're a good operator for a year, they can come back to us. We can talk about this further. But we want to make sure that they are a good neighbor for a year. And again, I do want to offer our services to Mido's truck about helping them find a new location for their truck. Again, we love having good food in our neighborhoods. We are not opposed to having good food and good businesses in our neighborhood, but we want to find the right location. So if you're willing to take us up on that, we would love to help you find a new location. But with that, can I get a motion? Yeah. Motion. Or a second? Second. Okay, all those in favor of that? Yes. Anyone opposed? Or is not eligible or abstaining? All right, that is what we plan on doing. So you will be receiving a letter from us at some point with that resolution. We wish you luck, and hopefully we can, this matter gets resolved. So, but thank you very much for coming back to us. We really do appreciate hearing from you. Yeah, hopefully we can find something that both sides can live with. So thank you so much. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Mr. Essa, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. And thank you all. That was
So these are long and difficult, but very productive and very valuable to the community. Every time we have done things like that.
Is that the what community boards can be for?
Totally.
Yes.
And acting as a sort of mediator.
Yeah, like a quality of life
Totally.
kind of thing,
All right, so now we're ready to move on to our next agenda item, which is improving visibility to Penn South Building for driveway entrance. I'm going to turn this one over to Christine, who was able to make it to the site walkthrough while I was getting stabbed with needles. I literally sent you a picture from the hospital.
With the whole thing. So we were notified by a resident who had a crash between her car and the bike and the bike lane. And then if you can see on 26th Street, was it?
Yeah, 26th.
Which one?
Yeah, 26th Street is correct.
You can see the images in the Dropbox.
Between 9 and 8, right? And there is the bike lane going along the curb, and then there are cars parked, and there are the car coming in, and there is an opening for a parking location, like a stopping location where people turn in and they unload their cars, and then they come in and back out. And there is no visibility between the bike lane and the cars that want to turn. So, so we looked at it. The people of Penn South proposed, is it this one?
26th Street between.
You're showing the.
Yeah, it's between
No.
8th and 9th, closer to 8th Avenue on
No, it's
26th.
Isn't it on the avenue?
No,
No, it's on the street.
it's on the street. It's closer to 8th.
What's
This
this?
is it.
This is it?
No, back. I think you come back. Can you come?
You may go.
Is that it?
No, I think,
No,
keep
you have to
going.
go
Turn
further.
around, turn, come. Yeah. It's across the street. You
Oh, is
see-
it on the north side of the street?
Yeah.
It's the parking lot? Well, the bike lane's on the south side of the street.
No, no, it's on the south. Like, you were just there, right there.
Oh, so
Something
there.
like that.
There.
No,
That's the playground.
keep going, keep
There
going.
are also images
Here,
in the
here.
Dropbox.
There's, okay,
This is where it started.
oh,
Okay,
This is the
keep
little
going,
driveway.
keep going.
No, it's not that parking lot?
No, keep going.
Okay.
Forward.
This is the dumpsters.
Oh, but the picture
no-
is
there's no
not
more
good
purpose.
because you have construction. Keep going.
Oh, is it this?
Is it
this?
Yes,
This,
this
okay,
guy.
my bad.
Right,
Okay.
this guy. But the
But
the
there's
difference
parking,
is
right?
now that there is parking, right? So when you want to turn, you don't see anything. So this is like a daylighting, right? Typically daylighting.
It's
And that's what we want to have. So the Penn Station, Penn South has proposed to install a mirror, you know, so that when people turn, they can see people coming. And in addition, we agree that there should be like a daylighting at the corner. And so remove a parking space. And so the letter would be removing the parking space, which is daylighting.
So there wasn't, so, oh, I thought you made it seem like it was, so it went well. That was,
Yeah,
we went,
okay.
okay. It went well, great.
Thank you.
So,
That's it.
so that's it. So we have a motion.
A second.
Great,
Yes.
all those in favor of a mirror and daylighting at the corner?
Right.
Love it.
Love
God,
it.
we're good.
Love it.
Next, thank you, Christine. Next, transit signal priority study on 10th and 11th Avenues with delayed bus service. Erica, I saw you're there. Erica, are you here to listen or just are you to give us a presentation?
No.
No, Erica from Linda's office.
Hi, how are you? Sorry if it's chaos behind me. I'm doing a bedtime too. Hey, Christine. Hi, Jesse. Not my own bedtime. Sorry, bedtime for my child. But no, I don't have to say anything. It was just a thought from, we did this with Community Board 7. They had mentioned a few intersections that they thought could benefit from transit signal priority. The assembly member wrote a letter to both the MTA and the DOT, and they both responded and said that they would, that they were going to study and review it, and do studies in those areas to see what was possible. And so we thought that would be fun to do with Community Board 4 too, if that was, it's okay, buddy, if that was something that you guys would be interested in.
Right.
Oh, hold on, sorry, I'll mute myself.
That is our definition of fun. Are we, ideas for intersections that would improve?
This is when the bus gets the white.
Priority.
line.
Priority, yeah.
Right. So I think we're going to get the red, and Erica, is it applicable only on the red marked lanes, or is it applicable to any bus lane?
Any bus line.
So essentially, M11,
just every
up,
intersection.
up and down the avenue, starting at 42nd Street, right? I'm saying starting at 42nd Street because that's the territory of the district.
Wait, yeah, how did Community Board 7 do it? Just into like, how do they select specific intersections and not just
They had it was, I think, over a long period of time where they had discussions, and that just, I don't know if it was, they came to those intersections after chatting with different people about where there were choke points and all of that. And those were just ones that they decided were going to be best. I don't think it was like there was no like scientific analysis of it. It was just, yeah.
But I think we need to think about M57, right, cross down, and M50 cross down. M52 is pretty good. I mean, they don't have a bottleneck, I think.
Yeah, M20.
I mean, they probably have a bottleneck on 11th Avenue, right? So at 11th,
So
M42 at 11, but what about M50? If you guys are more
M57?
Yeah.
M57 in our area is not too bad. It's when you get a little bit further.
Right.
Are we only with both places in Linda's district line?
In this district, yeah. That's what
I mean, because that M11 on 9th Avenue is Linda's district.
Right.
Up until 51st Street.
Right.
So we should do that.
But how do we do M11, like, that's why I'm confused. In my mind, I'm like every
intersection, right.
On for the M11.
Well, I think the M11, 57th Street
That's every-
and big.
And all the
streets,
corridors, so, but the problem is those, yeah, I guess buses would, so it would be the 57th, 42nd, 34th, 23rd, or is that?
No, 23rd is outside of our district.
Oh.
Right. But M50, and I'm sure M50 has bottlenecks, but I don't know where they are. Somebody should be walking there and say, is there a bottleneck at 9? Is there a bottleneck at 10?
So I think we're gonna need to, I think we should go out there and look, but yeah.
I'm just confused what the point of this is without doing the whole corridor. Like, I get like one or few intersections, but what's the point? I mean, isn't it implemented along the entire bus corridor? So
But they're not going to give you the system.
As many as possible with
Yeah.
DOT's discretion.
Exactly, yeah, just.
It's always better if you
Yeah.
give specific,
Yeah, this is-
there is a problem and you fix it.
It's really cool technology, like there's a GPS tracker in the bus and it corresponds to.
Right.
You know what we should
traffic
do?
signal.
You know what we should do? We should all take a bus line and ask a couple bus drivers on the line and say, hey, where do you sit?
That's a good idea.
Where do you sit the most? Is there anywhere that you
Right.
can benefit from having a signal priority?
So we need to allocate to people to
So,
take the bus.
Yeah.
Anybody get a port authority, that would save the Google some, but like that's not gonna help much.
Well,
No.
Anybody at the port authority.
But let's see, yeah, the bus drivers will know their routes though, they'll have ideas.
Are they allowed to say that?
So, yeah, they want to say, so why don't we take some volunteers for some different bus lines, who wants to do the M11? Nobody, really, all these kids just sit there, no one takes the M11 here? I take the M11. I'll volunteer for the M11.
Okay, you are.
I
But
volunteer for the
up and
M11,
down.
up and down, up and down. How about the M57?
M57 on 57th Street?
Just to see if there's, ask the bus driver if there's anywhere.
I don't think they
If there are
You
any
can sit on the bus.
in our district.
The question is like, is somebody volunteer?
It's just go for taking off.
Yeah,
57th Street between
So you are,
9th and
well,
Well, just ask if there's anything that would bump.
coming back
Yeah, great.
and coming back.
Anywhere on their
Coming
route,
back.
yeah, if they wanted to see.
I'll do west.
East
And I'll
and
do
west side.
50, I'll do 50.
All right, east and west, and then we need 42nd,
42nd is.
it's already its own thing, okay? It's such a mess.
We've
We've already advocated
It's
for a
also
corridor, we've
not-
also I don't know.
Not much of a Linda's district.
Yeah, it's not really a district.
Does DOT have plans to actually do this? It's called.
Do that again?
Does DOT actually have plans to implement this anytime soon?
Yeah, well, Erica, have they been responsive to you? Is that also part, are we like?
Since next for you.
have you
Yeah,
worked with that?
they have been responsive. It was, I mean, it's crazy of how responsive now the DOT has been on certain things. But yes, there was an immediate response to the letter, kind of similar, Christine and Jesse, to to when we asked for the signals to be checked at to be studied at 57th and 11th. Immediate response, yes, we're going to study the places. And I don't want, just because CB7 wanted to do it in, an intersection form doesn't mean you guys have to do it. If it's just lines that you want us to ask, and we put it on the work of DOT to say, you and MTA, and you say, you guys collaborate and discuss which areas, we could do it too. That was just, that's just the way CB7 had done it, because of, I guess, discussions that they had. So, but don't feel constrained to how they did it. We just want to we just wanted to work with you guys to identify different lines, routes, areas. But you be as however you want to design it.
Yeah, great to hear that if we actually say suggestions, it might actually improve some things. So
Awesome.
not just going into the
So
void.
did we
So
assign stuff?
yeah, well, we got M11, we got M50, we got M57. And what else we're missing? That's all I'm asking. Is that
No,
it?
we're missing 12, but we don't, 12 is coming once a day, so.
Yeah, I
okay.
don't know. Alright, and we're not doing 47. We don't feel like we
And
need to do
42nd Street,
That's
maybe,
such its own.
maybe I'll do 42nd Street to see what happened at
Yeah.
11th, at
All right.
11th Avenue.
Christine's just gonna ride the bus back and forth.
And I will also throw out we did an M104 ride along with President Critchlow, I think last February. If we want to do something similar on the M11 or a route that you feel very strongly on, we could ask him to ride along with us. And he found different points within the M104 where he was like, we should change X at this intersection, or this doesn't work. And we could do that on a line of your choice as well and ask. Yeah.
On the M11, we should do it on the
All the
way
way
up,
up.
because on the down, we are going to have the red carpet. Right?
Yeah, when are they? That's coming this.
That's coming now.
Now, yeah, that's
Right?
great.
So
Well, that's a
that's-
good point, for us to do signal priority now on the M11 when we're getting a bus lane.
Are they doing single party on the bus lane now?
We can still.
No, but I mean,
Yeah, we still ask them.
M42,
Yeah, we still ask for it.
you get the bus lane, you get the M11, you arrive at 42nd Street, whether you have the red carpet or not, it's a mess.
Exactly, it's better to have single party
Does anyone
roads.
else call it a red carpet? Is that like is that a term of art or?
It is now.
It's like, yeah, in this city, we roll out the red carpet for our buses. That's right.
Expression for the bus
That's
stop.
what we do here. So here's what we got so far. All I'm saying is we have some assignments for people to go out this month, come back next month with what you found on your bus line, and we can talk further about it. And either ride a bus or talk to the bus drivers, see what you see, and we'll report back in a month. Thank you, Erica, for bringing
And
this.
Erica's scheduling a ride
Yeah,
on M11 going north.
yeah,
Mhm.
On Avenue would be really good.
it would be. So,
Yeah.
why don't, you and I would go that with you offline?
Because we have nothing
Yeah.
has happened there, right?
I'll make that. I'll email the MTA tomorrow, tonight, and make that request, and then I'll keep you guys in the loop on scheduling and such.
Amazing. Thank you, Erica. Thank you
Thank
for.
you, guys.
You're the best.
Thank you. All
Thank you.
right. All right, great. That is that. Well, that is it for public topics. We do now have, we do have some time for a committee member, present on Penn Station, part 2.
All right.
Part 2.
It's just me. We've had some personal stuff come up, so it's just me.
Season 2.
Remind us where we left off. Last time on Penn
Last time,
Station.
all right, you have to do a recap, right?
Jesse, sorry, Miriam raised her hand.
Who did? Miriam, we're not on new business yet. We'll let Miriam jump on a new business, but we have there's one committee item and then we'll let Miriam.
Okay, do you have the slides?
Yeah.
Although I'm guessing, actually, sorry, I'm guessing Miriam actually wanted to speak on the bus.
But
Sorry.
We have new business, other new business.
We have other new business?
There's one resident.
Okay, but Miriam, I'm sorry, but we should let Miriam speak on the buses and so that,
Yes.
so we can incorporate it into what we're doing this month. So sorry, Miriam, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'm bringing her over now. She's joining.
Going to be shelters. Anybody has a $20 on shelter? Some money on shelters.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, this is also about buses, an ancient request about better bus stops that I made some time ago as a part of district needs. And as Jesse knows, we did extraordinarily well on seats, that we were told that seats are a human need, and not only was 23rd Street included, but all of New York City. It was a major coup. My question is about the shelters. And as we remember a few weeks ago, the buses were running during heavy snow, but some people who needed them did not have shelters. What can be done about that next step in getting some response from the DOT on the bus shelters in CB4?
Miriam, I think it's an excellent point. One, because we've sent a letter on this already, but two, having heard and now knowing that under this new administration, how much more we're getting of what we're asking for, I actually do think it is an excellent flag for us to follow up on our previous letter. I think we can do that.
We can just
take the letter and
send it to the commissioner,
Yeah.
the Manhattan commissioner,
So-
and we have this issue.
Exactly.
And can you just refresh
Yes.
our memory on
where things stand. So
doing what to.
Jesse?
Please, this is an
Jesse.
excellent suggestion for us to try to set up a meeting. Hey, go ahead.
Just a quick thank you on that topic. 11th and 23rd has gotten a shelter. Went up recently, so I want to thank Colleen on that, making a little progress on the shelters. It seems.
Thank you, Alan.
23rd and 11th. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Colleen, we'll follow up with you offline to try to get some updates on the shelters, maybe a meeting set up too, just so we can talk about how we can try to roll them out more in our district.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Miriam, for again.
Okay, let me add some. Can you hear me?
Of course.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Still?
Yes.
Okay, in terms of the elevators, on 23rd, 7th, and 8th, I've been in touch with Eric Botcher and asked him to send a letter to the MTA. He's always been responsive to me on anything about accessibility. He sent a letter, and as usual, he gets his buddies to co-sign, including Jerry Nadler, Brad Hyman Siegel, and Tony Simone. So a letter was sent to the MTA Jan Oliver about that. What I have heard from people on the accessibility committee in the MTA is they respond often to firms that are contractors that want to work on that particular site and looking at costs, experience, and so on. So a lot of that comes from the contractors contacting the MTA for specific sites. And I don't think that's happened yet at 23rd Street, but I'm just updating you on what I've been doing and trying to find out. It'll happen, but I'd like it to happen in my lifetime.
But you following up on it and having her do exactly the same is going to, right? Like just having them commit to it, but not actually do it is, thank you for staying on top of it, really, Miriam. It is really appreciated. Keep us updated on that. And if there's anything more we can do down the line, you'll let us know. Thank you, Miriam.
All right.
Good night. Okay, now to Penn Station.
Okay, Penn Station. Jeannie, do you have the slides or do you need me to resend you the link?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull them up now.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Yeah.
I think they changed it.
Did you do this?
Did you do what's your font? Are your letters purposely?
No, it's like so different on my own computer.
Oh, that's
It's like totally changed it.
That's
It's
Okay.
a little disturbing.
Yeah.
I don't really like what they did there, but anyways, yeah, today I'm going to talk about the Penn Station transformation.
It's doing it right.
Okay. Yeah, the word is transforming in front of our eyes.
All right, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. So. Okay, yeah, so the official name of the project is Penn Station Transformation, but there is a project in the works to rebuild Penn Station, both the like passenger structure and the tracks underneath it. Just to give a little context, although I think most of this is, known to probably everybody here. Penn Station is not in our district, but it is obviously affects us. It is between, Moynihan is in our district.
Well,
but,
we have 8th Avenue, the middle of
but the actual structure of Penn
Yes.
Station is not in our district.
across the street.
I pretend it's our.
It feels like it. But yeah, Penn Station is between, Penn Station proper is between 31st and 33rd and 8th and 7th. And then there's the extension in Moynihan Train Hall, which is in our district, and that is between 8th and 9th.
Yeah.
This, by the way, is just a rendering. This is not this is just an example. It's not going to look like that. Okay, on to the next slide. What are you doing with this? This is crazy. Okay.
You can't.
Maybe I could, but
Did you send or
To join the
PDF?
Zoom.
Did you
It
send
converted it to a PDF, maybe that's why it got all like funky like that.
You have to see things in PDF. Because the PDF fixes all the format.
okay. No, but I just found a link, but whatever.
Anyway. That's good, it looks good.
This is what will be online in perpetuity. Sure.
Okay, moving on.
Here we go. It's named now.
There's two main reasons for doing this project. The first one is capacity issues. Penn Station is already straining its existing capacity in terms of just literally the number of trains that can safely enter and exit the station in a given time period. The big impetus is Gateway, which will make 2 tunnels under the Hudson rather than 1. That will mean twice as many trains from Jersey can come, and suddenly, right now, the tunnel is the bottleneck on that route, but the tunnel will not be the bottleneck. The bottleneck will be Penn Station. In order to take advantage of that additional capacity, Penn Station will need to be able to handle more trains. There's also coming up in the sort of more near future, in the next couple of years, the Hell's Gate project, which gives Metro North lines direct access to Penn, is going to come online, and that will, further strain the existing capacity, which is already kind of at its limits. So the other reason is just that the station is very, very old. It could do, it's kind of gross, to be honest. It's dark, it's crowded, it's hard to navigate. It has some safety issues. It's operationally not ideal for Amtrak. There's a lot of reasons aside from capacity, just in terms of general renovation and modernization to rebuild the station. Okay, next slide. So this is not happening anymore, but I just wanted to give some context. I think probably most people here have heard the phrase general project plan. Many years ago, in pre-COVID, New York State and the MTA were leading a charge to rebuild Penn Station for a lot of the same reasons. And the plan took a pretty different form than the current plan. But the plan back at that time was to have the project be funded basically by private developers, but in exchange, the private developer would get to build very large buildings around the area, and that's what would make it worth their while. And basically, those buildings would have been office buildings, and there was some talk of housing, but they very likely would have been office buildings. And with the collapse of the commercial market with COVID, that plan kind of fell apart. All right, next slide. And then,
Excellent choice.
So the general project plan was kind of stalled and defunct. But what officially killed it is that federal government, under the Trump administration, took over the project. Legally, this is entirely within their rights because the station is owned by Amtrak, and Amtrak is basically a state-owned enterprise owned by the federal government. Amtrak is the landlord, MTA, New Jersey Transit, LIR. Those are all long-term tenants, but Amtrak is ultimately the landlord and the owner of the station. However, I will say New York State did not actually oppose the federal government taking over. Cat Kochel actually spoke out saying this is great because now the federal government is paying for the project as opposed to, I think New York, Jersey are going to be contributing some parts, but it's primarily the federal government paying for the project now. So Donald Trump actually gave us like tens of billions of dollars. So the other thing is that Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary, appointed Andy Bradford to lead the project, which is very promising. Like, someone who like really knows their stuff on transit, is very well respected in the transit area, is running the project. So it's a very promising sign. This could be, actually done in a pretty successful way. Okay, next slide. Okay, the timeline. The federal government is actually, doing a very aggressive timeline on this. They're trying to be shovels in the ground by end of 2027. Officially, the board is going to be consulted as part of the environmental review process, as we would be on any projects of the scale that would, of course, require an environmental review. That's the second to last box. That said, we're already playing a sort of informal consulting role as with many other stakeholders.
Well, there is the community advisory committee where we are part of.
Oh, so it's not just informal.
No, it's formal.
Okay. And yeah, so and the other thing I would note though is master developer selection is coming up next month. So that will be, whenever that decision is made, that will be relevant to us, and we should keep an eye out for that. They're not deciding, to be clear, on the final, what the design will look like. The master developer selection is just choosing the developer who will work with Amtrak and all the other stakeholders to choose a design. Not what that design will be.
Yeah, and the private, because it's a PPP, it's a private.
Public-private partnership.
So that's going to be part of the master developer. The master developer is going to be.
I'm not sure what you mean. Isn't public-private partnership just a generic term for something where the government?
Yeah, but it is. This is the structure of. There is going to be a private developer.
Yes.
Who is going to take the lead.
Yes.
In doing this in exchange for long-term revenues.
Yes, but there also is a direct payment. The federal government is not. It's not like the general project plan where the primary source of funding was private developers. In that case, in return for concessions in the zoning and the surrounding area. In this case, the federal government is putting in the largest chunk of money. The private developer is putting in a minority of the total funding.
Yeah, we don't.
Well, I mean,
go forget about that.
Andy Bradford has talked about that's the plan. Will it say? I don't know, but that's Andy Bradford is on the record. It's that's the plan. Okay, next slide. Okay. So just wanted to take a moment to talk about track improvements. I think this is one of the maybe more important but less obvious aspect of the project. So this is where the additional capacity would come from. Everything above the tracks is mostly about rider experience, but the actual tracks, this is where we do or do not get more capacity out of the station, is reconfiguring the tracks. Since this is challenging because since Amtrak has I don't think they haven't really made a firm commitment, but they have made a general commitment to not demolish a whole other block of not to demolish, I forget the name of the block, but not to demolish the block 780 to the south. So that means the tracks are largely sort of within their existing footprint. So we could do reconfiguration, but we could not really extend the number of tracks. So there's a big challenge of how do you get more capacity? We need more capacity. How do you get more capacity without expanding the footprint of the tracks? Sort of an important thing in this process of making the decision about how to reconfigure the tracks is that the federal government, but not Amtrak, different agency, the Federal Railroad Administration, is doing a study that's going to come out in early 2027, and they're going to make judgments about basically how much additional capacity is needed, and what kind of changes to the track structure would be would be the best optimizations to make that happen. They're also going to issue a recommendation on through running, which is not like a binding recommendation, but that's been a big topic around this project. So their official recommendation vis-a-vis through running will have a lot of weight. Again, in part because they're not on track. They're another independent body that's looking at this. So it kind of gives their opinion a little bit more weight than just like Amtrak saying what it's been saying. Okay, yes, next slide. Okay, that's great. This picture was not like so aggressive when it's like just on my laptop. It's really a lot. Yeah, so Madison Square Garden is on top of Penn Station. And it's probably like the single biggest reason it is hard to build a better Penn Station is that there is a giant entertainment venue on top of it from like an architectural and a construction standpoint that just makes it very difficult basically for the amount of people that need to exit Penn Station to exit in a safe manner, that they like that there is this thing on top of it. The thing is, it's not very easy to get Madison Square Garden to move, and they like may or may not. Like the plan sort of exists in a state of flux where they might and they might not, and all plans are going forward with sort of the assumption that it could be either way. The city has some leverage over Madison Square Garden in that they do like issue them a special permit to operate. Last time they renewed that permit, they only renewed it for 5 years instead of 10. That said, like I honestly would not expect them to move. This is just my opinion, but like the owner, James Dolan, is very opposed. There's no current plan for them to relocate. And if they were going to relocate, they really should have started planning years ago. If they use eminent domain, that would add billions of dollars to the project to do the purchase. They probably would not be able to start the project until MSG had had a replacement built somewhere else. So I guess I wouldn't plan on it. It's a possibility, and I would say it very much remains in flux, but we should not plan on that. That said, one of the shortlisted developers, McCary, I'm not sure how to pronounce their name.
McCary, M-A-Q.
Yeah, okay. Their proposal, like that they submitted with their like for the RFP, did move Madison Square Garden, so it doesn't possibility. The other thing is that like Donald Trump is involved here, and like if he wants Madison Square Garden to move, it's probably going to move.
And there is another one was proposed to remove only the theater.
On 8th Avenue.
Right, on 8th Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is the arena, and then there is theater, and one of the people which are bidding have proposed to pay X million of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to remove the theater in order to create that big entrance. Okay. So that's another option.
Middle ground.
Right.
All right, next slide. So I've kind of given like that sort of like the background context. So now I'm going to give just some sort of updates on the latest things that have happened. Next slide. So this actually, it's not that recent of an update. When I made this slide deck 2 months ago, the decision about who the master developers was relatively recent. Now we are actually almost at master developer selection happening next month. But that is sort of the stage that the process is at. It'll actually probably get more exciting for us like after master developer selected, and at that point more other stakeholders will be engaged. Okay, next slide. All right, and then I'm going to talk about sort of a few issues that are important to the project and where the community board may be interested in opining in the future. There's like millions of moving pieces of this project, but I want to call it a couple that are like relevant to us as like areas where we may want to opine. Okay, next slide. Okay, first one is public realm. So public realm in this case basically just means like the sidewalks. This is going to be an area where like community board advocacy is going to be especially important. We need to sort of make a push to have more public realm improvements be included in the project. If we're going to do a massive amount of construction and disruption, we might as well fix up some of the sidewalks while we're at it. Sort of frustratingly, public realm improvements were not included in the RFP. So we really need to sort of actively push to get some of those changes included in the public realm improvements included in the final plan. I would say I put 2 photos here of that is 7th, and on the right is 7th and 32nd, and the left is side facing our district, 8th and 31st. And you can see they rebuilt 7th, 32nd as part of the Penn 2 project.
That was the MTA and the Long Island Railroad.
33rd.
Yeah, well, I use they someone, not an entity. There were construction workers. Someone was paying them. But because of that, it's lovely now. And we want the whole public realm to be lovely. And that's very possible to do as part of a project of this scale. So we should start thinking about advocating for that and what we want in terms of advocating. I usually don't really have a sense of what specifically we want other than just have it be better. So I'm gonna toss the football to Christine for a second. Do you have any specific things you want?
Well, I think we wrote a letter, right? We wrote a letter and the elected sent a letter about that. And the big things we want is to make 31st Street and 33rd Street shared street. So essentially close them to permanent traffic, let them be open, and so create all that space on each side as an open space and a continuation of the and then the crossing of 8th Avenue, raised pedestrian, all that stuff, right? So these are not very, and the problem we have is that right now the project says, okay, all that stuff is DOT and it's the city and they should pay for it. And it's not, but they have also said in the RFP, if the responder to the RFP want to include additional stuff, they can. So it's a little bit of left in the middle, but we'll need to, and the DOT is very supportive of making both of those streets as shared streets, which would be tremendous, because now you can, you could cover them, you could have so much more space, and you could have the experience spreading out. Right? When you arrive, this is much more outside. So these are the things that we had. The reason the origin of all this discussion is that there was a community advisory committee in the last iteration. And as part of that, the state had put some money to do an analysis of the public realm. And out of this analysis, which had all the participants, these are the concepts that came out of that. So these are not just our concept. This is what came out of this aggregate of everybody. There was Madison Square Garden, everybody was in there, and everybody said, yeah, it makes sense. That would be great to do those things. So that's where we are pushing.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
Thank you Christine for delivering. I tossed you the football and you came through.
Oh yeah, but that sounds good. It takes it right into the
end zone. We are the end zone.
Michigan play.
Okay. Through running. This is a topic about which I have a nerdy passion, so you're going to be subjected to it for a minute. Can you remind us when we got it? We got a presentation? No, I know we did. But this is you want a presentation about through running is happening right now. Someone came back and enjoy it. Yeah, so through running, this is a very important topic to actually increasing the capacity of Penn Station and improving regional transportation. It is very important to the project, and we may or may not opine on it, but it is very important to the project for sure, and for the overall efforts to increase capacity. So just to give a quick definition first, through running is, it's kind of what it sounds like, is running a train through Penn Station. So right now, the vast majority of trains go from New Jersey to Penn Station and back. They go from Long Island to Penn Station and back. Through running, very simple concept. You run a train, from New Jersey to Long Island, and it stops and lets some passengers off, on, some passengers continue through. So there is already a little bit of limited through running, mostly by Amtrak does like intercity through running. So you can take a train from like DC to Boston and get through running. And then the other thing is that there is what's called non-revenue through running. So people make this distinction of revenue through running is when you take passengers through a station. If you take a passenger from New Jersey to Long Island, but non-revenue through running is like, we wouldn't really say they do through running currently, but they do the technically this thing called non-revenue through running, which is they don't actually like stop at Penn Station. They take a train through and then they take it to a yard. So like New Jersey Transit or LIR will take their trains through to Sunnyside Yard or Hudson Yards because like they need to service them and do things like that. And they wouldn't want to. They don't just leave them there taking up a spot in Penn Station. That would be terrible. But even what they're currently doing with the non-revenue through running is not ideal. It would in many ways be better if they actually ran passengers through. Let's talk about the benefits and the trade-offs of through running because they're a reasonable case on both sides. The main challenge of through running is that because people are getting on and off the train at the same time, in order to like the platforms are already pretty narrow at Penn Station, as we've all experienced. And in order for people to safely get on and off at the same time, they would need to be substantially wider. So you would need to have the platforms would need to be wider, and you would need to have less overall platforms. Not way less, but you would have to have somewhat less overall platforms to accommodate having wider platforms. Since we're mostly working within a fixed footprint, it's probably not expandable. Like the reality is to do through running, you need wider platforms, then you need less of them. So there has to be significant benefits to counteract that trade-off, which is substantial. Okay, let's talk about the benefits. The benefits are, most obvious benefit is now there is a single, this is not the most important benefit, but it is not a trivial benefit either, which is that for people who want to take a single seat ride from New Jersey to Long Island or any other single seat ride, it's now possible. But probably more important gains is that there's just a big efficiency gain in the overall system. So through running will not increase capacity at peak times, but it will increase capacity basically every other time because basically the current system uses the trains inefficiently, not the slots, not the station, but the actual number of trains like run less routes than they could per day because they spend a lot of time like loitering in yards and so on. But with through running, you could just literally provide more train service with the same number of trains, so more service for less cost. And then it also have a lot of reliability improvements where trains don't get like delays won't cascade in the same way. That said, it doesn't really address like increase peak hour capacity, which is a really important part of this project. So I genuinely could see the arguments either way on this. There are a lot of very passionate people out there running on either side, so I want to see a good really.
We sent a letter in February 2022 in favor of through running, where we did say the line, the objections to through running do not stand up to scrutiny.
I truly I didn't have a strong opinion about this before I looked into it, but now I've never read about it a lot. I'm like, I think I'd be in favor of it too, but I do see that there is a real trade-off.
But I think the big benefit is that today they run about 3 trains per track at peak hour.
Okay, yeah.
And with through running, you could run, 10 trains per track or 15 trains per track because you don't have the turnaround and you don't have the train blocking. What's happening is that
they're not trying.
Yeah.
This is why I think it's a genuine trade-off. Is like if they were doing no through running, then absolutely there would be a huge capacity increase because you wouldn't have to turn around.
Right. That's it.
Which is very slow.
Right.
But because they're doing the non-revenue through running, the dwell time benefit is not there because non-revenue through running has the same low dwell time of revenue through running, because you just stop the train to let people disembark and then you continue on
Okay.
where you are.
So that's not exactly, I get what you're saying. That's not exactly what the people like Chris Fink have calculated. You know, they tell you even with, you know, non-revenue, you still don't turn around. And when you don't turn around, here is the thing, is like, they turn around and when the train turns around, it's just like an intersection, right? It blocks every other train coming in.
But
Because
if it's non-revenue through running, they're not turning around.
No, but I'm getting to that. So no matter what, as long as you turn around, this is a major problem, right? And then if you don't turn around, revenue or non-revenue, you are sending them there and you don't have to have the conflicts. So that I'm just talking about the conflicts, that's all.
But my point is they're already doing, I mean, there's basically no trains turning around in Penn Station. They're all doing non-revenue through running.
No.
The question is if we should do revenue through running.
Plenty of them, you need to check, plenty of them.
Well, actually, we're actually gonna, I'm gonna kind of get to this in the next slide.
All right, let's move on, please, Christine.
I think we demonstrated there are people with passionate feelings about this subject, as I said.
Christine, you say that through running decreases congestion.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah, the
So-
question is to what extent, the difference we have.
The question is
between to what extent can you decrease the congestion with a different method?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the question is,
Yeah.
to do through running, you have to reduce the number of platforms.
Yes.
That's a trade-off.
Right.
It has many other large benefits. Is it worth that trade-off?
Yes.
Okay. Amtrak has historically been resistant to doing through running for this reason that you have to reduce the number of platforms. But lots of transit experts and advocates have supported it. Under MCB4, Amtrak does seem more open to through running. But what's really going to be important is this study that's by not Amtrak, by Federal Railroad Administration. I mean, they're not going to be the final word, but their judgment on whether through running, whether they come out with a recommendation of through running or not. That's going to be, I think, pretty important in the discussion because that's coming out early 2027. Okay, next slide. I don't want to lose you.
You're funny.
Okay, so this is the last slide. Yeah, so I want to talk about I basically found a report by Effective Transit Alliance, which is a fairly well-known transit think tank / advocacy group. And they have this report which kind of confirms what you probably already suspect, which is that Amtrak does not run in an efficient manner. What I found most interesting about this is that they make the claim that we could actually accommodate the capacity from Gateway with the existing track structure. And again, this is debatable. This is just their report, but it's I have a link to it at the end. It's very interesting. I think they're not the only people saying this. The Amtrak does do a lot of things that are just ridiculously inefficient, basically for political reasons. And potentially we could accommodate all of this with no track rebuild. Not that we shouldn't redo the rebuild, but it is worth thinking about. There are other efficiencies that we should probably push for. And just to give I can give a bunch of examples, but one, for example, they switch crews and they restock at Penn Station. They should do that at literally any other station. That adds several minutes to every train stop, which prevents another train from using that slot. They do overtakes where an express train passes a slower train, because the slower train just has to sit there and take up a slot at Penn Station. Again, this doesn't make any sense. And this is the one that's a little bit trickier, is that they could, if they had basically better timing, they could synchronize the train arrival so that no two trains just arrive within 5 minutes of each other on the same platform. In that case, you can safely do through running as long as you respect that 5-minute interval with the existing platform sizes, which I basically is hard because they would have to fully operate on time and try harder about that. But that could radically increase capacity. It's just being yeah, we're going to do through running, but we're also just going to space it out with the scheduling so that you never have two trains disembarking onto the same platform at the same time. And that would be a huge capacity boost, and it doesn't require any infrastructure. There's many more things they could do to increase efficiency, but I do think this is something we should at least mention in our letters and stuff, like, hey, yeah, let's spend $10 billion, but like, you guys should also be more efficient, like, in these ways that you could be more efficient for free.
And this is something that MCB4 definitely wants. That's why he has that study to say, how do I?
So we can have a study to tell.
Because exactly, because you have to tell Amtrak, you need to change your operation. You know, and he didn't want to come from the outside and say that. And so I think he's on the case, but this is a terrific, really terrific slide.
And there's a link to the actual study. If anyone, I feel like Christine and I are probably the prime audience already. Like, if anyone else would like to read it, it's there.
We also confused. Why is the focus just on Amtrak versus New Jersey Transit that's using the same?
I think all of these same improvements.
Right.
But all of these same improvements would apply to all of them.
But I think
Sorry, I've just been saying Amtrak, but just because it would have been really an even longer repetition of every time I've been Amtrak, I said Amtrak, New Jersey Transit, and the MTA affiliated stations of Metro North and LIR.
You have two groups of people essentially. Amtrak is already doing through running, but they are doing it very inefficiently, which is what this illustrates. So you could say if they are occupying 6 tracks, you could triple that or quadruple the number of trains on those 6 tracks, right? And then you have the other tracks which are used by New Jersey Transit, where the guys are not going through, they are stopping there and they are going around and going back. And and then it's a mess because they are going back and that's
me.
right. So that, and then the solution to that is different, right? So it's a mix of things.
We can do both. Like
We should be doing both.
We can we should do a rebuild for a variety of reasons. We should also do these operational improvements to increase efficiency, and we should do through running in some form.
Okay, Andy too. And just by chance, Christina and I just received
there is
2 days ago from someone.
There is one more slide.
Their own for
the slide. Wait, next slide. Okay, this slide is the question slide. You all started asking questions anyway, but I would like to move to the question slide. And this slide has only one word on it, so they didn't change the font. So I don't know if you noticed, but the first word is in the right font.
That's your problem. You should have had one word.
Yeah, just a presentation with a little word.
Okay.
No, thank you very much.
Wait, question?
First of all,
Why does Amtrak always get priority over New Jersey Transit?
They own it.
There's.
They own the tracks all the way.
Okay, got it.
They own the tracks and they own the station. And so they tell New Jersey Transit,
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I did want to mention that I didn't put in this presentation because it came out after I made the slide deck. But MTA is very much beefing with Amtrak in a very counterproductive way. Like New Jersey Transit, this project will have some benefits for them in the long term, but it will cause them inconvenience in the short term. They're taking a seat at the table, they're being part of the conversations, they're figuring out how to make it work. MTA is basically just throwing a hissy fit, and they they were offered to be part of the selection committee for the master developer, and they just chose to not even be in the room because they're mad that they're not in charge. It's
an ego trip from Lieber because he was in charge and he screwed it up, and now somebody else is in charge, and now he's like, I'm not going to play with them.
Well, and Lieber was there's a long history of beefing with Andy Byford because Andy Byford quit MTA because the governor gave Lieber control of the
that's what we should have had a slide on.
We should have a slide about the people.
The third item is going to be really hard to solve because you have to get New Jersey Transit, MTA, and if you're running to Connecticut, then you have a third state involved.
It's sort of
Long Island Railroad and Metro North are part of the same organization but different.
Right.
It's going to be very hard to solve that.
So that's what some of us have recommended that we do non-revenues for running, which is, you take the stuff, it goes through, and then you go put it in the parking lot.
Wait, but
Which is the
mostly,
yard.
it mostly is already non-revenue through, I think. We should look,
Let's look at it.
but I think
Let's look at, but that's the
mostly
idea.
they
The idea is
non-revenue.
like, don't let any train turn around. That's the idea. To me, that's the first priority, right? Don't train and then fix what Amtrak is doing, which is 3 trains per hour on a through running basis, when they should be doing, like Paris or whatever, they should be doing 80. So
I mean, it's
what
really
gives?
unclear like why they need like 10 minutes to move a train through a station. Like that doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. We've seen a train enter the
Right.
station. It does not take that long.
So there are those major inefficiencies that you should be tackling, and then you go from there.
Any other questions? No, thank you, really,
That was excellent.
Thank you, thank
Really.
you. But it does remind us to keep this like very much in focus as it's.
Yes.
And to be part of this conversation.
We have a resident.
Oh.
Yes, we have a new, we're on to new business,
Okay.
but do you want, before we,
Yeah.
do you have, what's the parapets? Is that
The
you?
parapets is, we did the parapets and we voted on it 2 months ago, and we forgot to write the letter. So I now have written the letter of what we said, because I had the impression that we didn't have a vote, but in fact we had a vote, so that's a very simple thing, and the letter is about asking the DOB to help on removing the scaffold on 34th Street so that the parapet project can proceed. That's it.
Great. All right, thank you for the update. All right.
Sorry, can we have a vote on that tonight again, just so that it can go back to full board?
Great, all those in favor? Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
So, thank you. Of course, I forgot to do this other item, but whatever. Okay, I believe we have 2 members of the community who have new business items, one in the room and one online. I will start with online first.
Jenny, can you bring Kendra over?
Fancy day for what are you drinking?
David is like, he has all this.
David's
cows
quite
and
literally
stuff.
out on the farm. David is out on the farm.
Oh, happy. Where's the milk? That's all.
It's a vegan,
Hi.
it's a vegan farm.
Oh, I like the sound of a vegan farm. Hi, thanks for having me, everyone. I'm Kendra. I'm a resident on 55th Street. And speaking of Amtrak, I've been curious about some street work that seems to have stagnated on 55th between 10th and 11th within the Harborview Terrace community area. It impacts both the bike lane and the automobile traffic, the automobile lane, and there's a lot of orange cones that just sit around. And I do like that it acts as a slow down and go slower on 55th, but it's just a big bunch of rubble on the road. I have heard that the issue is that there's a dispute between Amtrak and DOT as to whose job it is to fix whatever needs to be fixed because it's over the railroad tracks. But I'm just wondering if this can move along. It's just been like rubble on 55th Street for months. So that's all. I just want to bring that up.
Could you send us a picture of that stuff?
Yes, I'd be
Picture.
happy to. Yeah.
Yes, very important to have the pictures and, a little of the context, because if we send it to, I don't know, Colleen, do you know anything about that? You are still online? No.
Well, she might hold
Right.
her side.
So we'll send it to Colleen and ask the question, and then, and then
Yeah,
follow up.
based on the response, we can follow up and if we need to write an official letter and take a vote next month, we will do that next month.
Okay.
But we'll try to collect some information between now and then, and starting with any pictures you send us.
Okay, I will do that. But you've not heard of this issue yet to date?
No. Have you heard it?
Has anybody tried to ride their bike down 55th Street? And like this? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I will get that
No, this is-
over.
This has not been brought to our attention yet, though, so thank you very much for doing so.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Good night. Thanks for hanging out with us.
And
And then one more in the room. Sir.
Okay, a couple things. One, I went to the meeting on 14th Street in terms of the busway 2.0, which was basically, excuse my language, BS. What's going to happen is, it was a presentation with a bunch of presentation boards. They were asking the neighborhood to take Post-its and put them down on various sections of 14th Street and say, what do you want? You want a bike lane, you want more trees, you want more shelters, you want countdown clocks. What do you want on it? That's all they were doing. The timetable is they're going to look at that information, digest it, and in 2 years, they're going to do X, Y, and Z, which is, again, whatever that word is that I used before. So one of the things that you said about shelters that you should look at also, you've not talked about countdown clocks. Most of the places that have shelters do not have countdown clocks. On 14th Street, I think there's 1 or 2 countdown clocks on the whole app and the whole street, river to river. That's it. And a lot of the shelters do not exist, have never existed. Some of them have been removed and never replaced. In addition to that, there's no trees. There's a lot of trees that have gone down and have not been replaced. There's a lot of platforms that have been removed and damaged and have not been replaced. Also, the SBS ticket things have to be removed because they're obsolete and they haven't been thought of. And also in terms of the streetscape, no one has thought of the streetscape, river to river, a whole bunch of other things. That's one thing. Also, if you speak to the bus drivers, as he had mentioned, speak to the bus drivers and see how they feel. Between 9th and 10th Avenue on 14th Street, they absolutely hate the M12, the M11, the 14D, all hate the furniture that's in the street and clogging it and making not just one lane in one direction, but basically a lane and a half shared by both directions. So
that's between 1 and 1?
Between 9th and 10th. So from the Apple Store,
right.
West,
Right.
All that furniture, everyone hates it. If you want, I can get a petition of every bus driver saying, tear it down, remove it.
Don't.
Well, I'm just saying, it does not help in terms of those that
Well,
really.
no, I mean, it doesn't help to move the bus. I mean, I get it.
Well, I'm just saying, there's that. In addition to that, I will pass it around or you can scan it and then send it out. Here's the 14D is going to have to be removed. It's going to have to be moved very, very shortly because the diner, Star Diner, I believe, is history. Yes, but now it's history in two weeks. And so at some point, and they've already started doing some of the probing of the land and the soil samples and stuff like that. What that's showing basically is that there is a bump out on 11th Avenue that has to be removed. So what you see is crosshatch has to be removed and rethought in order for the buses to be moved over 1 avenue. That's what that drawing shows, indicates sort of what's problematic and what's not.
Where is the bump out?
Can you point on this, please?
Can you show us where I'm not right? The ones.
This is the cross, so all this has to be removed. This has to be.
It's on 11.
It's on 11th Avenue,
Why?
so because it's only a 5-foot thing. What you're doing is you're asking the bus to go into traffic and then go out of traffic and make the turn. Where if you remove the bump out, then you just go straight across and going right on 18th Street. So.
But that bump out had been created for the bus, right? As a bus stop?
No,
that's the bump out for.
No, the
What was
bump
the
out
bump
was
out? For pedestrian.
was for pedestrians and there's no need for any of that. Why they did that and what their decisions making was ridiculous, knowing full well that at some point everyone wanted the 14D to be
Can you, because I think we talked about this area before and I still think we're not. Can we ask the same request that we asked of Kendra, which is to send us photos of this corner?
Yeah, sure.
Can you do that?
Okay. Sure, but in the meantime, take that, scan it and send it to everyone else and I'll supplement it with photos and stuff like that. Perfectly fine.
Nice people love this office. The nice people.
Us work.
The nice people love this office. So weird. All right, great. Thank you very much, as always, for.
Well, wait, I have a question. So,
And Ellen was given some pictures of the
right,
presentation. I will send the whole, I'll do a.
you're going to send all that
Flash
stuff
drive,
to Ellen,
flash
right?
drive,
All
yeah.
the, and all the suggestions you have, like
Sure.
the tree pits and all those things.
Sure,
All those-
that's fine,
right,
that's
that would be great, so that we can incorporate that into the feedback.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, is there anyone else online, Janine? Who has a hand raised, wants to speak?
Oh, there's no more hands.
Excellent. Well, then that is
I am.
almost everything. Christine, again, we'd
The
like to
latest-
explain the Celsius.
Sorry, the latest Port Authority update is that they are going to, well, first of all, in order to do well, you know, in order to do the deck over, they are working every night of the week from 11 to 5 o'clock, and they have not changed.
They
their
haven't changed,
position.
they
Right.
haven't changed at all,
Yeah.
basically.
And then now we learned today that they are going to, in order to lay the steel is going to be put over the cuts, right? And in order to do that, they can't do that with cars. So they are going to close the Lincoln Tunnel from 30, what is the lowest? 30 years. From 30 to 36. 36. And to ramp C, I'm sorry, including ramp C every night during 11 and so there's going to be a major redirection of the traffic, and I think we are all expecting chaos, at least for 1 week until people are getting, and that's going to go on for the whole year.
When's it start?
It's starting this week. And then it's going to go on for the
So
whole year.
everyone's just gonna be routed to 45.
So you can just, whenever people are asking you those things, you know, you can tell them this is what's happening.
Between the hours of 11.
And 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's awesome.
So, you know, I mean, 5 o'clock in the morning is not much, but 11 is still a fair amount of volume, you know.
For the show, like it's on.
Yeah, coming out of shows, et cetera, and so
It's
that's,
gonna be bad.
so that's what's going on right now.
Thank you for that update. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Second. Favor. Thank you so much. Thank you. An excellent meeting. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.